Hello, welcome to the iFanboy 2025 All Media Year-End Roundup. My name is Conor Kilpatrick, and as always, for the 21st year in a row, I'm here with Josh Flanagan.
What's up?
And Ron Richards.
Only last year we realized it was the 20th All Media show that we did instead of this year.
We did some math.
The 21st.
This is our 21st All Media show. How? That's just how the math
just
works.
Happens. But this is one of the highlights of the year for I don't know for you guys, but for me, I've been looking forward to this for weeks.
This is great.
So wait, does that mean that it's really not iFanboy 2025?
No, now
we're iFanboy 2025.
This kicks off 21-26.
Parentheses 21.
Not doing that.
Just wait till 51-50. all you Van Halen heads out there.
At iFanboy, we like comic books, but we also like a lot of other things. We watch a lot of movies and TV shows, and we read books and listen to podcasts. So every year since the show started, we've been doing this all media show at the end of the year to talk about the things we enjoyed from the year that aren't comic book related, although some will sneak in at the end.
I don't even remember why did we do that?
Who knows?
The first year where we were like, let's talk about something other than comics.
It was like 2 months in. We were just
it was really a big swing on us.
It was the Wild West, man.
So before we get to the show, a quick reminder warning. This is not really a review show. We don't really spoil things, but it's entirely possible. So if you're really worried about something, you might want to use the show notes and skip them. But we don't really go into details on these things for the most part, although
it's like an appreciation
spotlight
show.
It's more of a spotlight than it is a review.
Although, spotlight.
We get to talking about the Pitt. Who knows what'll happen? So we're going to start off as we always do with movies. And our standard disclaimer is that we record this a few weeks before you see it or hear it. It's the beginning of December. There's lots of big films that have not come out yet. We haven't seen them yet.
I mean, the tragedy of this is that we won't be going deep on Avatar. That's the tragedy of this show. So you're gonna have to tune in.
We won't be going anything on Avatar.
Have we ever covered Avatar? We really should do. We should do.
No, because it comes out after the show.
Yeah. I've seen the first. I saw both. Both of them in the theater. I'm gonna go see this one. Totally.
I saw the second one in the Chinese theater. It was awesome. Yeah.
It
made $2 billion.
I came out of the first one and I was like, God, that was really brilliant, and I proceeded to never, ever, ever think about it again.
And when I went to the second one, I was like, that looks amazing, and then I immediately forgot about it.
Yeah.
So, this was good news.
I've never seen 3D that looked that good, but the thing was, I'd never seen any 3D that looked good, and I don't like 3D.
Yeah.
The other disclaimer, I don't know, Ron, you tell me.
Yeah.
This wasn't a super great year. There were great movies we saw. We're going to talk about them, but on the whole, I think it was a down year for movies.
Careful, because some people out in the media discourse have gotten in trouble for these didn't Paul Thomas Anderson snap back at somebody who said it was a bad year?
I think we're safe. I think we can weather that storm.
I was thinking about it too, Connor, and it was a weird year.
Yeah, it was a weird year
for sure. Yeah, but
the best thing that could happen with us is if Paul Thomas Anderson got angry at us.
That would be great. Oh, if Paul Thomas Anderson, if you're listening out there, fuck you.
By the way, get your cold open.
But yeah, no, it was a weird year. I thought the same thing because there was because two things. One is that like we're not talking about Lilo and Stitch, which is like going to be one of the. Even though I saw that in the theaters, we're not talking about it. I took my kids. There was no Barbenheimer. There was no. None of the superhero movies blew the doors off everything. Like there was no cultural movie moment this year. A couple came close.
It wasn't like they didn't try.
Right. No, we'll talk. We're going to talk about them because at the top of it, I think the first movie we talked about is probably one of the ones that's closest to it. But then also, Connor, the fact that we're recording this in early December and we're like, there's still more movies that come out. But aside from Avatar and maybe Marty Supreme, there's nothing that's like, oh my God, it's a must see. You've got to go during Christmas. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I mean, there's movies I'm looking forward to that aren't like that kind of movie. Like, I want to see the Coral, I want to see the Anne Lee film. But like, Marty Supreme and the Avatar, they're like the last two big cultural ones. I just looked at my list and I went to the theater 42 times last year, and I've only gone 33 times this year to the theater to see a movie. And so that's 11 or 9 fewer movies.
Yeah, and like, and if we're looking at, and I'm looking at the top 10 movies from the box office standpoint, and we're there's like 3 that we're gonna 2 or 3 that we're gonna talk about here. Like we're not talking, even though we talked about Minecraft on the show earlier in the year, but like right now, Minecraft and Lilo and Stitch are the two biggest movies of the year.
These are the best movies of the year, we think.
Yeah.
So
yeah, these are our.
I mean, what plays now in theaters is kids movies, and so
I was just looking for this weekend because we were trying to see if Nuremberg is playing anywhere, and
I think it's out.
Kids love
theater.
Nuremberg.
No, we found one place.
Oh, nice.
It's at like 5 in the afternoon tomorrow. Yeah. Anyway, but it was like literally at the place where I usually go. It was like sequel, Indian movie, sequel, manga or anime, sequel. Yeah. Like I was like, this is awful.
Yeah, it's really wild. Nuremberg is out of theaters by me, and I took my dad to go see it, and it was like 11 a.m.
Yeah,
11:30.
Which by the way,
which is great. Which is fantastic.
Yeah. I go all the time. I was
the youngest person in the theater.
Yeah. Well, let's jump into it then.
Yeah.
The first movie we're talking about, Sinners. One of the most talked about films of the year from Ryan Coogler, wrote it and directed it, starring Michael B. Jordan, Jack O'Connell, Miles Keaton, Delroy Lindo, Haley Steinfeld, a bunch of other people. We're not huge horror people, but this is a movie that transcends the genre. It's a horror film. It certainly is. It's a horror film, but it's a lot more than a horror film. It's a thriller. It's a movie about race. It's a movie about culture. I saw it at sold out theater at the Vista here in LA, which is one of the old theaters that Tarantino owns, and it was an amazing experience. And saw it again on TV since, and it still packs a punch. I still think about that scene where the guy starts playing at the club and all the musicians from all throughout the future and the past come to life. And I've never seen anything like that in my life. I still think about that scene all the time. I
think you nailed it, that it transcended the genre. I dismissed it because I'm not into horror, and it's going to come up again later on as we're talking about other movies. But so horror is not a genre I'm into, and especially vampires and all that, all this whatever. But once this came out, just heard so much positive, effusive, compliments about it. I was like, all right, I got to go see it. And I went to go see it in IMAX, and it totally, absolutely kind of and it's part of Coogler. It elevated the material, elevated beyond just it's a vampire movie, and to your point, I see it more as a period piece, and it brought in the cultural aspect about the music aspect and like you said, race and all that sort of. There's so much going for it on top of just fantastic performances. I mean, Michael B. Jordan was great playing two characters, playing twin brothers.
Everyone's good in it.
Every there's not a bad moment.
Lindo is amazing in it.
Not a bad moment in the whole thing, and it was just really, really an accomplishment.
It's still, I think, my favorite film of the year. I mean, we're going to talk about several films here. Oh yeah, we're going to talk about several films
I watched it the other day, so I actually have seen this one.
Oh, what'd you think?
I thought that the first part, like the first half of it, the setup of it was really, really long. In fact, I lost Lindsay. She's like, I don't know what this is. And she took off. And then right after that, after the vampire part of it was pretty standard vampire shit. You know what I mean? I liked it once the vampire stuff started up a lot more, because for a little while I just kind of wasn't sure what was what the point was. Was really funny in the beginning. I was like, that guy, I didn't know anything. So I was like, that looks like, who's that other guy though? That looks like Michael B. Jordan. And then it was like 10 minutes ago. Oh, they're both Michael B. Jordan. Did you guys recognize who played the old blues musician at the end of the mid credits?
Yep.
Okay, I was like, I don't know how many people would be like, that's Buddy Guy.
Well, yeah, and a lot was made of it when it was in the theaters. Yeah.
Buddy Guy. I saw Buddy Guy. God, now 20 years ago, and I thought he was old then. He was maybe among the best performers I've ever seen. Not agnostic of genre. I was like, this guy's fucking amazing. Yeah. So that was a good choice.
I liked it. There was nothing creepier than the not Appalachian or whatever, but the vampires that just started singing the singing outside. The Irish whatever. Yeah, that was.
I gotta say, the bad guys had to be the Irish people. Just,
Yeah.
It was. It's my number one film of the year for sure.
Yeah. It's definitely up there. Well, for me, I've been wrestling with I spent a lot of time wrestling over what movies we would discuss here on the show, and because the way I approach this is what are my top movies of the year, and the only movie I gave the highest rating on Letterboxd all year was One Battle After Another, written and directed by the aforementioned Paul Thomas Anderson, who can go fuck himself. No, just kidding. I'm not a PTA head in that, you know, like there's
But you go see all of them.
I do go see all of them, yes, but I didn't. I still have gaps. I still haven't seen The Master. I still haven't seen Magnolia, to be honest with you.
Oh wow.
So
I tried to watch The Master once. It didn't take.
But once I got on board with the Phantom Thread, which is still fucking love that movie so much. I've been on board with it. And you know, when this came out, I saw it in 70 millimeter. Not in VistaVision. I tried to see it. Me and F. Murray Abraham tried to see it in VistaVision.
That's right.
But the projector broke. He was very confused. What's going on? So I pivoted and saw it in 70 millimeter IMAX, which was just awesome. And just like when I think of what a quote unquote movie is, right, in terms of like this, even though this is very contemporary and dealt with, you know, political, you know, there's a political underpinning with ICE and protest and all the stuff that's going on. But then there's also a storyline very deep in family and familial connection and what that means and all that stuff. But this also really felt like a movie the way they used to make movie years ago. This felt like a quote unquote movie, right? And you know, Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, DiCaprio, you know, Chase Infinity, the actress who plays DiCaprio's daughter, like all the performances one after another are just like putting their best stuff forward. At the end of the day, this total package of a film was the one that left me the most satisfied walking out of the theater, just checking all the boxes. Long. And for some reason this year I've become, and we'll talk about it throughout. So I've become very obsessed with runtime of movies, like we've all talked about, and a lot of movies that I watched as I was getting, you know, towards the end of the year that I thought were contenders. I was like, wow, that was great if they just cut 20 minutes out of it, you know, like, but this one I didn't feel the time, the 2 hours and 40 minutes, like it was solid. So that I gotta give
very funny. It's a very funny movie too.
Yeah, very, very funny. Sometimes intentionally and sometimes unintentionally. Sometimes I think, like, you know, but and that's the balance, really. It's like, you know, how much, like, I wouldn't think of this as a comedy, but rather, you know, like, you know, the you know, drama with comedic moments, with lighthearted moments that you know, and that's that balance that PTA does really well. But all in all, this was my top movie of the year. So.
That silence, I think it's me. I was doing a little research to see if I could find how many times I went to the movies this year. I shouldn't even be here right now. That's what I can tell you. I do know that I think I saw more old movies in the theater than new movies in the theater.
That's cool.
Like the last one, I was like, I saw Interstellar and Jaws, Sonic 3, and so forth. But one thing I was actually very excited about, and we don't tend to talk about superhero movies in the main part of the show very much, but Superman. And I think that as a cultural event, you know, to me, it's and others perhaps here, you know, like to have a Superman movie come out should be a big deal. And I felt like the movie followed through this time. You know, like you could put all the marketing behind it, but like Superman was everywhere, which wouldn't have been annoying, except that the movie reflected to me what I want Superman to be. And I think that is really special. I think David Corn Sweat was an excellent Superman. I think that it projected the right kind of person. Like when he saves the squirrel, I was like, it's all good. Like that was a real landmark moment for me. I think it was a super entertaining comic book movie. I don't think it broke any, you know, rules about, you know, like breaking new ground. But I think that it did the job that it needed to. And I like the idea that we entered into a universe that already existed, and we didn't have to explain everything again, because people now definitely understand that there are going to be different versions of these characters that come out. You do not need to spoon feed everybody the information. It was delightful. You know, I went twice. I took my younger son to it because I was like, this is great. You're going to like this. And he did. And he doesn't care about superhero movies. You know, and that's a really special thing. You know, it's one of those like really entertaining, really popular, very populist in a way, and generally pretty well regarded. And I think that's great. That's yeah.
Let's hope that this version of Superman survives.
Let's hope not too much doom and gloom.
I loved it. I saw it twice in the theater too. Yeah, it's I have the Blu-ray and the 4K. I'm going to watch it again soon. So Hamnet from Chloe Zhao, she wrote and directed it. She co-wrote it with Maggie O'Farrell, who wrote the book. So Chloe Zhao is a much heralded filmmaker. She won the Best Director Oscar for Nomadland. Nomadland, a movie I really enjoyed when I saw it, and I've not thought about it since. I literally have not thought about it since. Then we had
the classic Eternals, though. How about that?
You stepped on my next comment, which was then she had the disaster, which was the Eternals. But this is the film where I was like, oh shit, she is a really good filmmaker. When she has material that she clearly responds to. Go to this movie if you need a good cry, because you'll get it. Jessie Buckley, I'm going to say it now, is going to win the Oscar.
Oh, calling it, huh?
And this was a terrific film. This is we don't know a hell of a. We know some things about Shakespeare. We don't know a hell of a lot. We know he had a son named Hamnet. We know his son died when he was 10. So this is a story about that and how that death affects the family, and also what would become the play Hamlet, which was Hamlet and Hamnet were apparently interchangeable for the same name. Yeah. And one of the best final sequences I've seen in a movie in a long time. They're both great, but really this is Jessie Buckley's movie. Paul Mescal plays Shakespeare, and Joe Alwyn has got a small role. Emily Watson's got a small role. It's really just two people, and it's really good. I really recommend it. It's a really good movie. It leapfrogged one bad after another for me for number two. The number two slot.
It's funny because I've heard such good things about it and that sort of stuff. And
I don't know if I can tell you guys to watch it because it's really all about the death of a young kid.
Well, yeah. Well, really... I was gonna say I've heard such great things about it, and I've seen the trailer now twice ahead of movies in the theater, and both times I'm like, yeah, I've got
the last 30 minutes might break you. Like honestly, it broke me, and I don't
right. Well, yeah,
and I don't even like kids.
Kids are terrible.
Watching the trailer. Watching the trailer, my reaction is like, yeah, I don't want to. I have no desire to see this.
Maybe much later when they're older, but it's a really good. Yeah. And Paul Mescal's really good, but he's just sort of the second position from Jessie Buckley, who is a really great actress, and I'm glad she's I hope this makes her a star because she's incredible.
Really cool. That's good to know. So talking about seeing trailers ahead of movies a lot, I think throughout the entire year leading up to its release, I saw the Caught Stealing trailer, then the movie directed by Darren Aronofsky, written by Charlie Houston, who's written comics, a little comic connection there. Saw the trailer so many times in the theater, saw it several times in the theater with my children, because for some reason it was ahead of Superman. Oh no, it was ahead of Fantastic Four. And
I'm sorry, I thought you were saying you'd seen this movie several times with your children. I was like,
no, the trailer. I saw the trailer.
No, that makes more sense. Yeah,
I heard. And the trailer wasn't appropriate for my children. The trailer was a Red Band trailer. I was like, what is going on? Like, what are we doing? Like, there's 6. But seeing the trailer a lot just built up the hype for this kind of period piece. Takes place in New York City in the late 90s. We talked about it on the podcast previously on the Media Explode. I'm going to rehash it. But it just probably the most fun I had at the theaters was seeing Caught Stealing. I think I was like one of 3 people in the theater on the opening weekend when it came out. So it didn't do huge business, but just the crime, money in a bag type of movie from that they used to make 20 years ago, a lot. That seems to have kind of died off like so many other genres. It was great to see that kind of come back. Amazing cast between Austin Butler and Regina King and Matt Smith and Liv Shriver and Vincent D'Onofrio, Zoe Kravitz. Like they were just everybody, it was just really, really engaging. A tight hour, 47 minutes, very good runtime.
You'd be surprised to go back and think about movies you love from the 80s and 90s that feel long, and they're all like 145.
Yep. Yeah.
It's amazing.
I really believe it was funny because like one of the movies that I didn't put on my list, but the Luca Guadagnino movie, After the Hunt. Yeah. I watched it and my wife was like, "Oh, what'd you think of it?" I'm like, it was 2 hours and 28 minutes. It could have been, I'm like it should have been an hour 50. Yeah. And that hour 50 mark, I think is the perfect spot for it. But Caught Stealing just did great, just hit a home run as far as I'm concerned. No pun intended, because there's a baseball subplot line in the movie. But I
had to fight to not put Mike and the Mad Dog in this list here on the screen.
It would have been good. But it was great. And just for keeping track at home, I don't have a total tally, but it looks like I went to the theaters probably 30 to 35 times this year.
Yeah, so, that's about.
But I will say, multiple viewings of both Dogman, Minecraft, and The Bad Guys 2. So I don't know if that counts or not. It's not so.
It counts. You went to the theater.
I went to the theater not to see it at least once, but like when Minecraft came out, my kids were like, "Could we see that again tomorrow?" I was like, "Sure, let's go."
Were you able to go to Dogman twice?
No, I did, and I slept both times.
Oh my God! Do people know about the phenomenon?
We talked about it in the podcast. I think we did, didn't we? Yeah, there's something in that movie that puts dads to sleep. But anyway,
I was dying, and I don't usually. Anyway, recently, I don't know, a couple of months ago or something, I was sitting around we're flipping, and I bought I subscribed to Paramount Plus for some reason. I don't normally have it, and I saw The Naked Gun on there, and I thought, was that on there or Peacock? It doesn't matter. I don't care. And I was like, let's watch this.
Paramount Plus.
Yeah, okay.
Right there on the screen.
I can't see that. I got the script over it. If I look at my face, it screws everything up. See, you threw me off. Threw it on, and like instantly started laughing. Laughed the entire time. It was, and we talk like this all the time, and I'm getting sick of us hearing it. I was like, oh, they don't make movies like this anymore.
No, they don't.
They don't.
I know, and it was just like one pretty much inappropriate joke after another, and in between them were dumb jokes.
Yep,
just dumb as hell, but in that great Zucker way, and it was totally.
But they had nothing to do with this movie. They're mad about it.
Yeah, they'll point that out several times.
And they can be, but like to me, it was a loving.
This is Akiva Schaffer from Lonely Island.
Yeah. It was. I thought it was like a loving tribute, which is like, let's do this kind of joke, and it is. It's literally.
What was it when she said that she came out to California to go to college and just loves it here, and he goes UCLA, and she goes, yeah, I see it every day, like. Just like those kind of jokes are great, and it's yeah.
Let's just talk about the fact that like Liam Neeson apparently can do anything.
This is anything. What's great. The subtext of this is that it's the follow-up on the extras bit about him wanting to do comedy.
Right. Like he can literally he's like I'm gonna become an action star in my 70s, and then you're like, what else can you do? I'm gonna make the funniest movie that they make this year. I actually thought it was really, really interesting to cast Pamela Anderson in that role.
She was really good.
And she was really good, but she was her age. She looks, and I was like, that's really cool. Like just as a thing, and she was great. She was
very funny.
I mean, literally laughed hard.
There was a couple of extended bits that like Lonely Island does really well. That that were really funny. I think with the one that like in the chalet, the whole like that whole long bit, and then the whole obviously when he has stomach issues after eating really badly, like that was all like a couple of really long bits. Yeah. So you're just like, they're still going.
Yeah.
It's good.
It's not in the echelon of the original one, which was like every joke in that movie gets.
Well, I mean, the funniest movie of all time, according to that Variety article, right? The top comedy, The Naked Gun, which is great. It was very. Speaking of the original Naked Gun, my niece, who I've been ever since she finished college and now she moved back home, I've been like, go see this movie, go see it. Try, like she's like, oh, I can't wait for Frankenstein. I'm gonna watch it tonight. I'm like, no, don't watch it at home. Go to the theater and watch it. Like I'm pushing her to go watch stuff in the theater. She texted me and she's like, so the art house theater is playing the original Naked Gun. Would you want to go see it with me? And I was like, oh yeah, sure. I'm like, do you want to?
Oh wait. No.
I'm like, do you want to bring your mom, like my sister? And she's like, no, I just want to see it with you. I'd like to see a movie without my mom going, see, isn't it funny? See. I was like, oh.
And that's when we learned that Christine doesn't listen to the show.
Exactly.
But I mean, like, just like if you're, I don't know if you're young, if you like it, but if you're our age, like you have to see Naked Gun. It'll just feel like being in a warm, familiar old chair. It was delightful.
That's great.
The joke about him constantly getting handed coffee was very funny. Wake Up Dead Man, A Knives Out Mystery, the third Knives Out film. Netflix just leaves money on the table because the second one, Glass Onion, I saw in a packed sold out theater. Dude,
can I tell you
sold out?
Can I tell you I was in a sold out theater in Manhattan, like a 7:00 showing, and they hold Daniel Craig back in the film. Spoiler
for a
while. When he appeared on screen for the first time, the audience broke out into applause, Connor.
Yeah. Yeah,
like love these movies. I looked around. I was like, "What the hell's going on?" Like people
love these movies. They're terrific.
Loved it. Yeah,
they're really smart. They're spectacles because of the casts. Daniel Craig is, he's a star, and this is, I think I'm looking at my list. I think this is the movie that had the most people in it that I saw in a theater. Like, people love these movies, and the fact that Netflix doesn't give a shit is really crazy to me. They can make who we don't want $300
whatever.
million.
That's another topic. But
anyway,
the film itself.
This was great. I thought I liked Glass Onion. A lot of people didn't, but I did. But I thought this was better.
Yes, agreed.
And I thought, because, as you said, we don't see Daniel Craig is I wrote this in my review on Letterboxd. Daniel Craig is the face of the franchise, but he's never the star of the movie. The star, Ana de Armas was the star of the first one. What's her name was the star of the second one. And then this movie's all about Josh O'Connell, who is so good in it.
He's great.
So funny.
He's really good. I mean, like, I saw him first in Challengers in the Sexy Tennis movie, and he was good in that, but that wasn't as nearly as he was funny in this one. This has got a lot of humor.
He's very funny. And Josh Brolin is also really
Brolin
good.
Was great. Yeah, very, very
Jeremy
good.
Renner, unfortunately, looks like he's been hit. He had a thing fall on him, like his face.
Well, he did. He literally.
That's what I'm saying. Unfortunately, his face is like a little off.
I look like he got ran over by a tank. I shouldn't have. I feel bad.
I feel bad saying it, but it's true. He just God bless him, he's still alive, but like, he just looks like his face.
And he did all right. He did okay.
He's fine.
He doesn't seem any less like Hawkeye than he did before.
I'm not remembering his name now, but the guy, the author, the writer in the movie.
Oh, Andrew Scott.
Andrew Scott, who my wife is obsessed with. He is great in this. He's
great in everything.
He's great in everything. You're right. He's perfect in everything, and he's going to come up again. I mean, this I think in terms of all three of my thoughts about this were, like, just keep making these movies. Like, I don't know if they're stopping after this, but I don't want them to stop. I
saw an interview with them. He was like, we'll stop. We run out of ideas. We have no intention of stopping anytime
soon. Keep making these movies, please. They're fantastic. I think that I think this is better than Glass Onion. I don't think it was better than the first one.
The first one is perfect.
Yeah, so I would rank it like the first one, this one, then Glass Onion. Even though Glass Onion is very good, I will criticize this in saying that 2 hour and 24-minute runtime. I did feel it. It could have been 20 minutes shorter. I think it would have been tighter if it was. And
they're all about this length, though. There's so much twisting and turning.
This got a little too in the weeds on the God stuff. And
this is as much a mystery as it is an exploration of faith, which I thought was interesting. But
I agree, and don't get me wrong. I think that, but I think they could have benefited from. I mean, it's a hard discipline to kill your babies, right? To cut. I think this could have disciplined from a little more tightness in it, but even then, it's still on another level. I mean, this is definitely one of the top movies of the year.
Also, surprise appearance by Jeffrey Wright, who's also always awesome, but he was really good in this too. The first 30 minutes is hilarious. It's like, this is a comedy. Yeah, and it's unexpected and goes interesting places, and delightful time at the movies.
Really good. So I talked about Lurker on Mediasplode on the podcast a couple of months ago. But friend of the show, friend of iFanboy, our friend Hank, texted me. He's like, "Oh, hey," he's like, "I saw a trailer for a movie you might dig." And turns out I really did. Indie movie called Lurker, written and directed by Alex Russell, who worked on The Bear. First movie out of the gate. Runtime of 140. So there you go. But really, really disturbing kind of social commentary on the world today of celebrity and social media and obsession. And then it takes kind of a dark thriller kind of twist. I just strongly recommend it. So I like there being a strong independent film, low budget independent film world, and this kind of reminded me of how much I like about that, and how, like, you sometimes now, I mean, it's so easy to go to streaming, but I was lucky enough to be in LA and it was playing and to see it in the theater. And like, you have to seek these out now, if you want to do that. And I'm glad that I did. This reminded me of the kind of movies I loved, 20 years ago, when, Kevin Smith era indie, not Kevin Smith movies, but like that kind of, indie
Spike
film.
Bike Slackers and Dykes.
Yeah, when there was when you could go to the art house cinema, and there was like at least 2 or 3 of these movies playing at any type.
Or the early 2000s was amazing.
And Cineplex would at least be one screen would be dedicated to these type of movies, and it's just not the case anymore.
Miss them Lemleys.
Yeah, the song from that movie has been in my head for months. So
I talked about this also, and I'm talking about Mickey 17 again, partially because I hadn't seen a lot of movies. But also, and you said, I think, Connor, like, no one liked this.
Yeah, you got bad reviews.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
okay, you can like it.
It is the kind of sci-fi that I really like. It actually reminds me of a comic book, like a good sci-fi comic, because there's a Groundhog Day element. This guy keeps dying and being recycled and coming back, and
does he pilot an AT-AT?
I don't believe I understand.
He's dressed like General Veers on the poster.
He's quite Veersian.
Does he captain the AT-AT? I'd go see it if he was.
Yeah, but I thought he was really engaging and played a dumb person really well, and then I had just saying that it was comic booky, and like the at first there's big scary monsters and you think, oh no, but they're playing with your expectations, and of course the monsters are actually the good guys in a way, and you have to sort of get past that fear. It's just like kind of classic sci-fi in a way that is a version I really enjoyed. So I don't know. I liked it. It was a good time. I would like more movies like this. And everybody liked Parasite, so you're probably just being a jerk about it.
It could be better or worse. Train Dreams is from Clint Bentley, writer-director, also co-written by Greg Guider, starring Joel Edgerton. Was the most unique film I've seen this year. It's got a limited run theaters. I went and saw it, but it's also currently on Netflix if you want to check it out. Short 142 runtime. It's based on a novella, and it very much feels like it's based on a novella.
I was going to say the same thing. It definitely feels like a literary adaptation.
Oh, good, you saw it.
Oh, no, yeah, I saw it. Yeah,
okay.
So my cousin, my wife's cousin is my cousin, is a big film nerd and saw it in the theater in New York at the Paris Theater in New York, and texted me immediately. He's like, "Best movie of the year, Train Dreams." I was like, "Oh," so I missed it in the theater, so I watched it at home, and I think that did you see it in the theater or at home, Connor?
At the theater.
I think there might be something between seeing this kind of movie in the theater versus watching at home, because
I think there's everything about seeing a movie in the theater.
Agreed. But I thought it was beautifully shot, looked absolutely beautiful.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
The story is, because it's based on a novella, is super, super light, and I just kind of went, okay, I get it. But
the story of a man's life.
Yeah,
there's not. To say it doesn't have a plot is not necessarily correct, but it kind of doesn't have a plot. It's basically this guy gets shipped off to Idaho when he was a kid. He becomes a logger.
He's an orphan,
and then it's his life from the time till he dies. And we see the good and the bad that happens throughout his life. There's an omniscient narrator who will tell you things like, in 20 years he'll look back on this and think of this as the happiest time of his life. And so you know more than the characters do. It's just like a look at this guy's life. But really, Joel Edgerton is just so good in this movie.
Yeah,
I feel like he was in everything for a while, and then I didn't see him for a long time.
The narrator is the great Will Patton, by the way. But part of it also has to deal with, at least what I took away from it was, he, as an orphan and not really having any sort of connection to the world or society, and being in a, it's a period piece that takes place in the early 1900s. And it's, in the Northwest, it's an area that's still being developed. This area that's still growing. And he really, Joel Edgerton's character really lacks any sort of connection to society or the world, and doesn't really understand his purpose in life until he meets Felicity Jones, marries her, they have a child, and then he has a family and he has a purpose and he gets it, and then loses that and loses his connection to the world.
Well, so it's spoiled the movie for people.
Well, no, I know, but it's
a big spoiler.
Yeah, but no, but
I wasn't listening.
It's a big spoiler. Yeah. It's a huge spoiler. So I didn't say it when I talked about it.
But what is interesting about it is that at least is like what I took away from it is one person's struggle for what the meaning of life is, basically, which is such a big open topic, but it's done in a minimalist kind of way. So, and
it's very, we walked out saying, I can't believe someone paid for that. And it's just not in a bad way, but just they don't fund these kind of movies. I think it's worth watching if you like film, because it's so different than what is out there right now. And it's a gorgeous looking film, and he's really good in it. Everyone's really good in it, but it's mostly him on the screen for the most part.
Yeah, it was fine. I get it's going to be nominated for a bunch of Oscars, and I get it. I was like, I get this. It's that type of movie. So yeah. So also by Netflix, I saw in the theater was Jay Kelly, George Clooney, Adam Sandler vehicle, directed by Noah Baumbach, with script that was written by Noah Baumbach and Emily Mortimer, who both me and my wife adore.
She's a small part in the movie.
Yeah, but she was great in the Paddington 3, anyway, which I also saw in the theater twice.
I didn't like that one.
Paddington in Peru, it grew on us. It wasn't as good as Paddington 2 is the best.
I've heard lots of bad reviews.
2 are amazing movies. Yeah. 3 was very light. Yeah. Well, we got to make another one.
Kids loved it though. Kids loved it. But so Jay Kelly is it's interesting because I'm seeing it described as like a love letter to filmmaking, which is just so
I don't think that's true.
Well, I mean, but I agree. That's
it's sort of the opposite.
And it's I've seen, but it's like a love letter to having a life of the movies, I guess. Like that's kind
I don't think that's true either.
I don't agree with it. I'm just saying what
I've read. That's bizarre.
That's true at all. But focusing on George Clooney playing a character who is very much like George Clooney, who's kind of in the twilight of his career, and his children are growing up and moving. He's kind of having that kind of like, what does it all mean? Very similar to Train Dreams, but in a much more detailed manner. At the same time, Adam Sandler, who's his manager, is having a, kind of existential crisis of like, what are relationships and what does it all mean? Or is this kind of just a transactional relationship? And, it's hard, both George Clooney is a charmer and Adam Sandler is very funny, even when he's being dramatic, and there's something engaging about him on screen. And I've had a complex relationship with Noah Baumbach films for going back 30 years now, which is hard to believe that I've been watching his movies for 30 years. But he is someone who I think at the same time, loves being a filmmaker and hates it. And you can feel that sometimes in his films. And that kind of, I guess that struggle is what kind of, sometimes it really, really works and really works really well. This one, it was a delightful time in the cinema, though. It was just.
I think the first act was amazing. I think the third act was amazing. I think the second act was too long.
Yeah,
I thought they spent too much time on the train. They could have cut that.
I agree.
By 10, at least 10 minutes.
Yep.
It's interesting. I read that this film was developed for Brad Pitt, but I can't imagine anyone but Clooney playing this role convincingly, because Pitt doesn't have that thing that Clooney has, where Clooney feels like an old movie star. Pitt doesn't feel like an old movie star, and you need
to
someone
us.
No, what I'm talking about is an old Hollywood movie.
I know what you mean.
There's a lot of comparisons to Clark Gable and Cary Grant in the film itself, which Clooney pulls off. Pitt, I don't think, is like that. He's too of a new wave movie star, which I don't mean that specifically, but you know what I mean.
Nouvelle Vague.
But I thought it was great. I thought he was great. I thought Sandler was great. I thought the ending was really moving. And I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was great. It's a win. So definitely love it.
So the first Richard Linklater film we're going to talk about, Blue Moon, which is written by Robert Kaplow. I love these kind of movies. This was a play on stage. It was essentially one set. There's a second set that happens in the very beginning, but we leave it very quickly.
I feel like I know what this movie is like just from the poster. I was like, oh, I get it. And then you said, I love this kind of movie. I'm like, it's exactly what I thought. There's poster language that I don't understand, but it's there.
Yeah. So it's sort of based on a true story-ish. It's everyone in the movie is playing a real person. Ethan Hawke plays Lorenz Hart, who was one half of Rodgers and Hart.
Which is like, Rodgers and Hammerstein. We all know that. I never heard of Lorenz Hart. Like, I'm not a big theater person, but as they play his songs throughout the movie,
you're like, oh,
you know every one of his songs. Yeah. Like, we'll take Manhattan, like totally. That was him. Like the song Blue Moon, that was him. Like my wife and I were just like, how can someone's body of work be so well known and yet he become forgotten in time?
Jack Kirby.
He was an asshole.
Exactly. And
this movie takes place on the best night of Richard Rodgers' life and the worst night of Lorenz Hart's life, and that is the night that Oklahoma opens up with Rodgers and Hammerstein's first production, which means that basically Lorenz Hart's career is over. He doesn't know it yet. And so this entire movie takes place at Sardi's, which is the legendary bar restaurant in Manhattan, in the theater district, or everyone at the time. And this is like a 1940s period piece. I love theater. I grew up in New York. I don't know anything about like hanging out with the people from the 40s theater scene. I don't know those people, but it was cool to do it. And it was basically, it's a Ethan Hawke show. He's in 90%. He's in 100% of the movie, but he's in like 90% of the dialogue, where he just pontificates about life. Bobby Cannavale plays his bartender buddy, who's awesome. Margaret Qualley is his real life obsession, college student obsession. Lorenz Hart was definitely gay, maybe bi. And then Andrew Scott plays Richard Rodgers, who shows up for this triumphant moment and proceeds to break up with his best friend. And wonderful movie. Patrick Kennedy, though, as E.B. White.
I was going to say the E.B. White stole the show as far as
he was so. I don't know what he had, but he had something you couldn't take your eyes off.
He had, he had it.
He had it.
He had it.
Like the Charlotte's Web E.B. White?
Yes. Yeah. So the whole time Ethan Hawke's character is kind of holding court in the bar, talking to Bobby Cannavale. This guy is in the corner, quietly having a drink and writing and all this sort of stuff, never talking to, and then he gets pulled into the conversation, and you find out it's E.B. White, who is a essayist in the paper and working on a children's book. And it's just like it was a little bit of fan service, but it was also on like the Stuart Little.
It's like 1940s literary fan service. Like fuck that, I don't care. I'll take it.
Exactly.
Stephen Sondheim makes a cameo. George Roy Hill, the director, makes a cameo. Like this, it's just like let's take every famous person at the time and put them into this bar on this night, and it was the wonderful.
Special effects or the camera trickery to make Ethan Hawke a little short man with and the performance that he does between wearing the suit. Like Lorenz Hart was very short, and Ethan Hawke is not. Like
he's like 5 feet tall.
Yeah, Ethan Hawke did a great job with that. Connor, we saw this in the theater, and I share the same thought. It's like it felt like watching a stage play, but also it had that Linklater humanism and connection, and it was the kind of thing where
it's really funny.
When it was over, I didn't want it to be over. I wanted more. Like as you feel, when you're at a party and like it's time to go, like the night is ending. What you get that feeling in this movie, but at the same time, you don't want the night to end, right?
And great Andrew Scott performance. He's already won several festival awards. It'll be interesting to see if he gets an Oscar nomination.
He's great. He's delightful.
He's really good. Let's talk about another Linklater film.
Yeah, I mean Linklater hitting a twofer this year, but with Blue Moon and then with Nouvelle Vague, the aforementioned Nouvelle Vague. This is the one that got a lot of press early in the year where, and I remember hearing about it, not really understanding what it was, but it was like, oh, Richard Linklater has got a movie at all the festivals and they're selling it, and Netflix bought the rights to it, and it's about the making of Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless.
So go ahead.
Or I feel like when I originally heard it, he was just remaking Breathless. That was like,
I saw a thing the other day where this was like playing, and I went, are they just putting Breathless in the theater again? Which I thought was the weirdest thing. Yeah. And it was a little while before I was like, oh, it's its own movie. Okay.
Yeah. So this is Linklater making a movie about the French New Wave.
I love Linklater. Scene. He's a maniac. I love he makes these movies. Well, I just love him so much.
What I love about this is it's him making a movie about the French New Wave and about the moment in time when
everything changes.
Right before Jean-Luc Godard makes Breathless, and then it's the making of Breathless and
jump cuts.
What is amazing, what I love about it is that Richard Linklater was one of the first indie filmmakers I ever saw. Like based off reading on Entertainment Weekly in like 1992, I went and rented Slacker and made my friends in high school watch Slacker with me, and none of them, they were like, what the fuck is this, whatever. And the idea of a career bookend where Linklater starts his movie with Slacker, which is very much done in the style of Godard, and the whole approach of the city as a character, and just capture what's on film and don't write it, just kind of let it happen. And then now 30 plus years later, Linklater then makes a movie about the making of the movie that inspired him to make his first movie, is such a meta Ouroboros kind of thing, which is just delightful. And it just like, and this movie was like, it's all in black and white. It's in 4:3 aspect ratio, right? Like it's shot as if it was made during this time period, which is a great decision, not overly dramatized. Don't recognize, aside from Zoe Deutsch, who plays
Guillaume Marbach, who plays Godard, is not an actor in the Linklater tradition. You would never know it. He's amazing, and he's incredibly charming and funny.
You don't recognize any of the people on screen. It is all new to you. Yeah, it is. And it's just done so well. It's just it was such a delight. This is like my second best movie of the year. Like this is like I
saw it last night. I wanted to make sure I saw it before we did this, and I really loved it. I mean, I've seen Breathless several times in the theater, so I own it on 4K, and also Band of Outsiders and Woman is a Man, and all and this is like it's like a comedic hit. It's like now here's Agnes Varda, and here's Jean Cocteau and Truffaut, and it's like everyone's in this movie, and I just thought this is delightful. Like, I mean, we say about a lot, but this movie is delightful.
This was the only one where like I'm pissed I didn't get to see it in the theater. I'm pissed I had to watch it on my couch.
Yeah,
like that. Yeah. That's like I want, because this feels like this lifeblood is the theater, and it needed that also. But even watching it at home, it was just delightful and it was great. So
is it in French?
Yes, with subtitles.
Which you have to turn off Netflix because Netflix says it's a foreign film, so they said like music playing, and like no, the subtitles are buried in the movie. I don't need the secondary.
Right. Yeah.
So I had to take those off. But yeah, it's all in French. Everything's except for Gene Sebring talks in English.
Yeah. Yeah. There's some English in the movie, but
yeah,
it's like 95% French, 5% English.
Plusieurs sont en français.
Nuremberg, not delightful. So this is some James Vanderbilt. He wrote and directed with Jack L.I. And I saw this in the theater with a very full 10 o'clock Saturday crowd, which is because almost everyone was 70 plus.
Yep. The Greatest Generation loves this shit.
Almost everyone is Jewish. This was a very emotional. Honestly, this was one of the most emotional theater experiences I had, because the audience really, at one point, we're screaming at the screen at characters like that. It was like they were having a moment. It was really powerful. But so this is about the Nuremberg trials of Hermann Göring. All the Nazi leadership. It's all about Hermann Göring, who's played by Russell Crowe. Rami Malek plays his psychologist, and Michael Shannon, he's Justice Black. Is that who he is? He's one of the prosecutors. But includes Richard E. Grant playing the British prosecutor, John Slattery stealing the show as the colonel in charge of the base. Like, it's a straight up, riveting historical drama. Russell Crowe is really good in it. I worry about his health. He does not look good.
He's very large. Yeah, but it's based on a book
which I tried to buy, but it's like $300. It's been for 40 years.
It's based on a book about the character that Rami Malek plays is the psychologist who's brought in to make sure that Göring and the other Nazis don't kill themselves while in prison. And so it's based on a book about the relationship between Rami Malek's character and Russell Crowe's character Göring. And so like my criticism of the film is tied back to the fact that I know that's the source material, but this had about 20 minutes too much Rami Malek. Well, there was. You
don't like Rami Malek though, which is
no, I do. That's the thing. It's weird. It's like I love Mr. Robot. Like I thought, I've yet to see anything else after that hasn't really grabbed me. But again, running time 2:28 could have been shorter, could have been tighter. They could have clipped some of the stuff with Göring's family. I saw some stuff that they could have edited. But what I thought was really interesting is that like growing up. We obviously know about World War II. We know about Nazis, and we knew that like there were Nuremberg trials, but like I didn't know any of the details.
I read one of the books. It was very dry and very long. Yeah. About like sort of basically it was all encompassing about it, and it was super complicated. So
and
if they tried to do that, it would have been a harder movie.
And they touch on it with Michael Shannon's character, who of course, and Connor,
it's great.
Give me Rami Malek or Michael Shannon, I'm going to choose Michael Shannon. I want more Michael Shannon. But they touch on that in the movie, which is like how do you have a trial when there's no world court? Like, how do you hold people account, the machinations of how the trial, and how do
you prosecute crimes against humanity, basically?
Exactly. They just lightly touched upon the effort that it took for that to come together. But it was still
more about the cat and mouse game between Göring and everyone else. Yeah. And, I thought Crowe was great. I thought Rami Malek was great. I thought Michael Shannon was great. They're all really good. Leo Woodall as like sort of the army adjunct to the psychologist who becomes really interesting at the end. Like it just was really well done. Yeah. And the whole theme of it is basically the whole theme of the book that this guy wrote is that like the Nazis weren't special. They were like this could happen anywhere. And people didn't want to hear that message after the war. And so he got buried and the book got buried, which is why you can't find it anymore. And it just didn't go like his whole thesis was this is like, these aren't super beings. These are just normal people, and they got caught up in this. And this could happen here. It could happen anywhere. People.
The end of it is the one that ties it back to present day, which is like, these aren't monsters. These are people, and that this could happen again. And it's hard to watch that without like, knowing what's going on in the world. But so
I really liked it. Yeah,
if you do ever the books, the Nuremberg trial by John.
You said it was really dry and boring.
Yes, but no. I mean, like not to me. But to 90% of the people, yes. But it does give you like this overall view, like and the context for everything.
This movie was based on a book called The Nazi and the Psychiatrist, so maybe that's
it's a different type of thing. But like in terms of all of those things, like having to put up this trial, that there were no rules for, that nobody quite agreed on in the short amount of time. You know,
they deal with that not quickly, but they deal with all that in the movie. Yeah, how they would. Who the judges would be from what countries, who the prosecution would be from what countries, yada yada.
Yeah, they touch on it lightly. You want more. I wanted more of that though.
Well, I got a book for you then.
Yeah. All right. And then last, in the mad dash at the end of the year was I was trying to watch the movie that I didn't get to see in theaters or watch other movies and things like that. One movie that kept on coming up when I was talking to people. I'm like, oh, what would you recommend? Whatever. Weapons, written, directed by Zach Krieger, kept on coming up. And like Sinners at the top of this segment, I dismissed initially when I was in the theater and dismissed other people because I don't like horror films, right? And I don't want horror films. But
had you seen Barbarian?
I have not seen Barbarian yet. I need to see Barbarian.
Well,
because I like
this is better than Barbarian.
That's great. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Weapons is fantastic. I mean, again, talk about transcending the genre. And Connor, you saw Weapons, right? I mean, this was just riveting. It was really, really great. Helps that Toby Huss is in it. I'm very pro Toby Huss.
I saw his name in this list, and I was like, Ron's going to mention Toby Huss.
I love Toby Huss. He was in something else I was watching on TV. I was like, hey, it's Toby Huss. Like, it instantly made. Oh yeah, it was Chad Powers he's in Chad Powers.
I thought it was Seinfeld.
And again, not enough. Like, there's never enough Toby. Give me a movie with Michael Shannon and Toby Huss, and I am happy. But about basically, the story of Weapons is that in the middle of the night, an entire class of kids just ran out of their house and disappeared at 2 a.m, and nobody understood why. Josh Brolin, who I didn't even know was in the movie, when I was like, hey, it's Josh Brolin. The story picks up a month after that happened, and they still haven't found the kids. They don't know what's happening. And then like the thriller then unfolds, and a lot of people want to blame Julia Garner, who plays their teacher. But she, claims she has nothing to do with it. You get pulled a little bit into her life and the drama of her life with Alden Ehrenreich and things like that. And then the way Krieger architected the story and broke it up kind of into
it's like Pulp Fiction. He tells it chapters,
Pulp Fiction,
different point of views.
Yeah, nonlinear storytelling and different point of views, and then tied it together almost perfectly at the end and gave you a satisfying why it happened, who did it, how it happened, and then a satisfying, kind of conclusion. It was the full package. And like, again, like, I don't think I would have, I don't think I would have seen it if it wasn't so positively described to me, because I would have dismissed it by the genre, which there's the lesson is don't, take some chances, try some genres you're not used to. But Weapons was really, really, really good. Really good. And honestly, there's nothing freakier than having those kids run with their arms out askew, and then Benedict Wong as well. It's done in just a way that is alien and disturbing, but also familiar, and like, oh, that could happen and that could be real, even though it couldn't, in a way that's what good horror kind of does, right? There's a believability aspect to it. So, yeah.
All right. So those are the films from the year. We'll be back after a quick break to talk about television. Okay, let's talk about television, everyone's favorite new medium. I think our disclaimer here is there's a million shows, we can't watch them all.
Nope.
So if we didn't talk about your favorite show, we might have watched it.
These are our favorite shows, but yeah.
But also we may have watched it, but we can't talk about all of them. So
I will say there's a lot to watch, and I definitely felt the majority of the year on my heels in that, like, oh, I got to catch up on that. I'm behind on that. I'm,
doesn't feel like it's healthy for a culture to everyone's like.
I hate it.
Primary thing is trying to watch all the TV shows.
Too much goddamn TV.
Yeah. I mean, that's why like streaming is great and having all these options are great, but it goes back to when there were channels and there were gatekeepers. There was balance, and there was a great schedule. The fall came out, you watched all the TV, you took a break, and then it came back
in the summer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
What it does for me as a whole is it devalues, because I go, well, I can't watch everything, so I'm gonna miss this thing, and then I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter, I'll have to miss a lot of things, and then I tend to not pay attention. Like you, all year, you're like, oh, I gotta watch this and this, and I was like, it's too much of a hassle. Like I don't want to try so hard.
And I will say that I'm like, I miss I'm getting tired of this is 6 episodes.
Oh yeah,
give me more. I want yeah. So
this is 6 episodes, and we'll have to do another 6 in 2 years.
Right. Yeah.
Hey, it's good enough for England.
Good luck remembering what happened.
Yep.
All right, so let's start off.
Let's get into it
with our favorite show of the year.
Best show of the year period is The Pitt. Hands down, and it was 15 episodes. It was inching closer to what we used to have.
Coming back next month.
It's coming back in weeks and not in that long. Noah Wiley, W-Y-L-E, no I in his name. Basically, you've seen it in the news about the litigation over, is this an ER reboot or sequel or whatever? Doesn't matter. I don't care. It doesn't. I don't care. Put Noah Wiley
called as a witness, Josh.
Whatever. You know what? I'm a qualified witness. Since the show is on, I'm through 11 seasons of ER, so let's go.
Put Noah Wiley in the emergency room, and he's just fantastic, and he's delightful. And having the 24 style episode rollout of the whole season takes place over a single day, and each hour is a real-time hour. Was a kind of a storytelling challenge for the writers, and we talked about it in detail on the podcast earlier this year. It wasn't perfect. Some stuff didn't work. Some stuff was clunky. The nurses lecturing about safety and seemed very ham-fisted. But at the end of the day, it is Noah Wiley and Catherine Lanasa, and just the week-to-week release of waiting a week to watch the next episode. It just checked all the boxes of what works in television, and it just is chef's kiss. Is perfect. So best show of the year for me.
For sure.
I don't know if you guys agree or
not.
No,
for sure. 100%.
Yeah. No.
Another version of perfect, but in a completely different way, is the Gilded Age, the show that inexplicably keeps getting more popular. The show that we all thought, well, that was a fun first season. No one's going to do that again.
So great.
And, it's just like Downton Abbey in that, everything has exactly the same weight of drama between like a murder and the shirt you wear to dinner. It's all up for dramatic gasps and action. At the same time, it is both like it's oddly like hyper real. Like everything's a little like, theatrical, I guess, but the characters and their relationships, while being played up here, are also very real. Like you care about these people. There's a point where a couple on the show splits up, and you're like, "What?" And like I'm still aghast at it. And you don't really even like all the people, but you still like don't want to see that happen to them. In the sort of the last run of 3 or 4 episodes, it was heart pounding. A lot of things happened. And there were consequences, and for some people, everything ended up just fine. But and others, like it was full on dramatic. It was like it's like everything like a network show should have been, but in the format of something
Prestige.
Else completely. Yeah, it's like Masterpiece Theater meets NBC Thursday night at 10.
Yeah. And I will argue it was an 8-episode season this year, and it wasn't enough. It was like don't be over now. I want to see more. Like,
in this instance, though, like I want to be left wanting more than to have it go on too long for sure. Also, it must be an enormously, ridiculously expensive show. So I get it. Like, well, you can do 8. We're not going to bankrupt.
I do wonder though what the popularity, because by the end of the 3rd season, it had grown to be quite popular, at least in terms of HBO numbers. I wonder what that means for season 4, which got announced. I wonder if they're going to give it some more episodes. But then again,
who knows? Don't worry about the business. Don't worry about. We need to put a moratorium on the business. Don't talk about business.
You guys talked about several Netflix movies that you really liked. Yeah. I don't think you tell Julian Fellows what to do at this point. I think
he lives in a castle.
Right. He's just like, what do you want to do? And he's like, I'm a peer of the realm. Go fuck yourself. I'm doing 8.
I just love. I mean, the clock. With the saga of the clock continued with a great payday, with a great twist. I mean, this was a show that once we all got aligned and we're watching weekly, like I was as excited to watch the show as I was to Monday morning go to you guys, be fucking Marion and talk about it with you guys.
By the way, if you do want more of this show, you can go watch Downton Abbey.
Yeah, Downton Abbey doesn't interest me. It doesn't interest me. Yeah,
I hate
the same show.
It just doesn't.
No, there are the same storylines.
Yeah. No, I believe it. I believe it.
There's
a clock.
footman and a clock. I shit you not.
So, good stuff.
There's no way you don't like that show if you watch it, unless you decide you don't like it. No way.
I always say the Gilded Age. I like the New York
We've been
aspect
saying it
of
for
it.
years, though.
Yeah,
He likes
no interest.
that it's based in New York.
I didn't say I don't like. I didn't say I'm not saying Downton Abbey's bad or that I don't
This
like
was
it.
also developed as a Downton Abbey prequel.
Yeah, I just have never watched it and have no interest to watch it. That's all.
Because you don't have any idea what it is, and you've decided you don't like it.
No, I didn't say I didn't like it. I just have no interest. There's two different
things. You have
things.
no interest. What you're saying is I wouldn't like it.
I have no motivation to watch it.
Other than two people who know you better than anybody saying, I think you'd really like it.
Sure, yeah, no, you might be right. I'm not making any equivocal comment.
You guys
on
are the
quality.
biggest heels in the sand. Just Jesus.
Just have no interest.
Pounding at a rock.
Slow Horses.
You like their earlier album. I don't want it. I only like this album. That was me in high school.
Speaking of British treasures, great G bats.
Cover the toe.
The fifth season of Slow Horses came out this year. This is one of my favorite shows on TV. I thought this was a really terrific season. Gary Oldman, Jack Loudon, Kristen Scott Thomas. This is Will Smith's. I think did he do season 5? I think he left actually. This might have been the first Will Smith free season. He had written every episode before that.
It's funny because I really felt it lean further into comedy this season.
Yes,
and that's what I know him as, is a comedy writer.
But it did. But for me, I just think about Lamb's monologue about the agent who got who the Stasi tortured, who we definitely know was him, and that was brutal, and that was a really emotional moment. I thought this was a really fun season.
This season felt the most like the first season to me.
Yeah.
You know, in that you had like, it was in London. You didn't have River off in France. You know, like there wasn't any.
They were all together.
Yeah, they were all together, and you had stakes, but then it also had, you know, it had the levity and the comedy, Josh, like you were saying. But then it had the drama of that. But also, what I like is like watching this band of misfits who, you know, you're told are bad actually kick ass, and like that whole scene of him telling the story, slowly giving them the clues of what to do, and then they use it to break out. Like that episode as alone is like possibly one of the best episodes of the year.
You watch it and like it's almost like, this doesn't make sense that he'd be able to do that, and then they're supposed to be really bad, but they're actually really good. But you see both sides of it, and it keeps you.
But they're also kind of bad. Like I used to think that, but this seems like Jack. I used to think Jack Loudon's character was actually a really good spy. I don't think that anymore. I think he's actually really bad.
Like you're thinking about it constantly, and you just don't know because they keep undercutting you. It's the same thing with like the drama is constantly undercut by the humor. Where what's his name? The computer guy. Who's like
Roddy.
Like
that was a bit too much this season.
I know, but then like you're like, this can't be real. But then the other part of it is so real, and it's everything all at once, and it shouldn't work a lot of the time. But
this season, the payoff for the push knife.
Yes,
we had the push knife appear, and then we had the payoff at the end.
Yep,
I laughed because it was so out of nowhere, and. I thought it just worked together. The best seasons of Slow Horses come together. Everything that happens comes together at the end, and that's what happened this season.
And while everyone in it is an excellent actor, led of course by Gary Oldman and Kristen Scott Thomas, who has more screen presence than anybody. Her fucking skirt's terrifying. Like you also kind of get the sense like, boy, they're all really having fun being in this show.
Yeah.
For whatever he's like, it's working, and you know, you kind of know, like Gary Oldman's like, yeah, I can do this forever, and like, do it, you know.
But also take care of yourself.
What about those toes? I don't want to.
So new show that came out this year that caught me by surprise and then gripped me throughout the entire thing was The Lowdown. The follow up to Connor, one of your favorite shows, I think, for a while, Reservation Dogs by Sterling Harjo. You know, the showrunner of The Lowdown. Ethan Hawke, again, we were talking about Blue Moon earlier in the movies. Ethan Hawke leading, and basically it's, you know, I heard interviews and saw written stuff where Sterling Harjo said, you know, like basically wanted to make a TV show that was The Last Goodbye set in Tulsa, and that's essentially what he did.
Yep.
and it is a little bit of noir perfection, and full of surprises and full of what I loved about this is that every time you watch a new episode, it's an 8 episodes season or series. Unknown if they'll come back for a second season. I hope they do, but every time you turn on a new episode, you have an idea what you get, and then you also have no idea what you're going to get. Yeah. And Harjo and Hawk and the rest of the folks on it run the gamut in the noir genre. There's some really violent, action sequences. There's some really, deep down disturbing, scary, like the Kyle MacLachlan bathed in red light, like that episode, like that,
that episode has had the most Twin Peaks
vibe
sequence I've seen since Twin Peaks.
Yeah, exactly. It just hit on so many right notes. Ethan Hawke, Kyle MacLachlan, Peter Dinklage in a single episode appearance that is just like fantastic.
I think he's going to win the Emmy. I'm putting it down again. I think I'm putting he's going to win the guest actor Emmy for that episode.
Men at Work's Keith David is so good. It was just so delightful, and like it was one of those things where we watched it weekly, and it was like, oh, is the Lowdown out yet? Is the Lowdown out yet? And then it was like it was anticipation on a level that when really good TV is working, it works.
This might have been my second favorite show after The Pitt. This was really good, and because they shot it in Tulsa, it didn't look like anything else on TV. Yeah. I don't know a lot about Tulsa. I've never been to Tulsa, but you really get a sense of that world and the location, politics in it, and how it looked. And he's really great at shining a light at parts of the world that don't get the light shined on it. And his native characters are always really interesting. There's always a lot of them. Tulsa, Oklahoma's obviously mostly native. The security guy was really funny, and that felt the most like Reservation Dogs, like those type of comedic characters. The ex-cons who were guarding his bookstore.
Yeah.
That was like those guys could have been in Reservation Dogs. It was just a really good. And Ethan Hawke was
I mean Tim Blake Nelson as the victim of the murder that Ethan Hawke is fantastic. Playing this cowboy and Indians raised Oklahoman closeted. It was great, and it's got as every great noir story has, it's got such passion from Ethan Hawke's character, and then just literally punched in the face,
kicked in the balls, punched in the face,
punched in the face over and over again, and then just twists and turns and betrayals, and it just like it definitely pulled the right levers, and all in all, like a solid 8 episode season that just it will leave you so satisfied.
I will be genuinely sad if it doesn't get renewed. That's the one show where I'll just genuinely be bummed if it doesn't come back.
But that said, this is like it's a little bit of perfect. It's a little slice of perfect.
For sure. But
if this is all we got, I'm good. So
sure.
The Beast in Me. It just came out on Netflix relatively recently, and Lindsay says to me, she says, "You want to watch this show with Claire Danes?" And I said, "No." And she said, "Is Matthew Rhys is in it?" And I said, "Yes." And I'm not quite done with it. We've been sort of trying to rush through it, so I haven't seen quite the end. I tried.
We haven't started yet. It's on our list, though. We're probably going to watch it over the.
Well,
we watched it. We finished it.
So here's my review. It's a must watch because Matthew Rhys is in it, but I can't stand Claire Danes in this show, and I don't know that I'm supposed to. So when she's on, I'm like, get her off. She's good, but the character is just really like a miserable character for the most part. But when he is on, it is now. I'm telling you, he's my favorite actor. So, but he's so riveting, and like
he kind of looks like he's wearing a Matthew Rhys mask, though.
He does.
I can't figure out why.
Yeah. Well, because he's playing a character that is very unlike what.
No, but his face looks strange. I don't know if it's the makeup they're using on him, or it just looks like he put a mask on top of his face.
I mean, it's interesting though, because he's supposed to be like a super rich, kind of vain person, and so for having look kind of weird, that I think it kind of works. To me, it's very against type for him. He often plays the introspective sad sack, and here, I don't want to say what he is to people who are watching it.
Well, how far into it are you?
I get 2 to go.
Okay.
So I mean, I know pretty much where we're at. I don't know the answer basically at the end, but I mean, it doesn't matter. Because even like at a certain point at the beginning, like I was like, this isn't really the kind of show I like or whatever, but like I'm full I'm full in. I'm like, I have to know. Like, it's definitely, if someone I lived with didn't fall asleep constantly, we would have finished this in 2 showings.
I think Gabe Rodder, the creators from Homeland, and obviously Claire Danes is on Homeland, and it has a little bit of that element of, Claire Danes' character in Homeland was all about, she was a CIA agent, so she was trying to put together pieces of a story to make things make sense. And this is what she's doing here too. And so it has that feel, but it's also very funny and also very disturbing and also very fucked up. And Jonathan Banks is really good in it.
It's terrifying.
Brittany Snow's really good in it.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of interesting facts. I think it's just, there's times where like she's supposed to be a brilliant writer. And I was like, why are you being stupid? Like, you're supposed to be really, like, she doesn't act anything like the writer that she's supposed to be. But there's reasons for it. So
it takes place on Long Island.
Yeah, Oyster Bay.
Yeah.
Ron, I think you'll really like this.
I think you'll like it. But I mean, like, Matthew Rhys, again, has yet to disappoint me in anything. And I thought,
he has fucking range. He's terrifying on the show and also utterly charming and funny on the show. And
at the same time.
And he's got such good range.
And I tell you, like, I've told, like, there was a scene where he was supposed to be sneaking around. And because he's not good at, like, he didn't look like he was sneaking around well, like the way that his body was moving. I was like, what are you doing? And then I remembered, like, in The Americans, where he's an awesome spy, he wasn't doing that. And I was like, this guy's an incredible actor. Just from that, because
his body language is different.
And it totally made sense. So yeah, he'll be up for awards.
It's enjoyable.
He should be. Yep.
English Teacher sadly was canceled after the 2nd season, but
crime against humanity.
This was, in my house, one of our favorite shows. It helps that the other person in the house is an English teacher, and so I'd often pause and say, "Did that happen?" And I'd get like, "Yeah, it does." It just was a really funny 30-minute sitcom about teachers in Austin, Texas, dealing with the modern day kids and them being elder millennials, I guess, and the culture clash in that. And
it's great to see a show. Funny. It's great to see a show get better.
Yeah,
we were so impressed with the first season because it felt like the awkwardness or the clumsiness of sitcoms when they start and they try to work themselves out wasn't there. Like out of the gate, English Teacher season 1, episode really 1 is perfect and tight. Second season, the writing just got so much, like, not so much better, but the writing just continued that on an upward trend where, like, the episodes tied together almost like not in exactly the way Seinfeld used to, but in that way.
They totally
a really good Seinfeld episode where you got to the end of it, like, oh, I see how it all tied together, and that's great. Like, they did that in on a couple episodes of English Teacher where it was really elegant plotting and writing within the 24-minute confines.
For weeks we were saying zip zip in the house because
that episode really resonated with you guys.
It just did, because that was one of the things I paused. I was like, does this shit happen? And she was like, yeah, it does. It's weird. Yeah. So he must know. Brian Jordan Alvarez, who was the creator and star, must know a teacher or have someone in his family, because it was very real, true to life.
What's her face? Stephanie Koenig is just like someone who, like, I've never seen before. I know they're friends and they do stuff on TikTok and stuff like that. She was very funny.
Yeah.
The whole thing is great. It was just a great show. I'm so bummed it was canceled. And it's probably the best of the half-hour shows, the sitcom shows I watched. Oops. But yeah, I gotta give props and say and lean into the hype that Star Wars Andor season 2 is as good as everything that you've read or everything that you've seen about it. It was a triumph, I think, for Tony Gilroy to create this little pocket espionage story in the world of Star Wars, and in a way, in a time period where Star Wars is kind of a bad word, to create something that is actually,
how did that happen?
I know, that is actually net positive to not only the mythology, but also in terms of, like, the experience. This was clear. Sometimes you get the sense when a show gets the command to wrap it up, that it's like they're just trying to speed through and just get it all done, but they didn't pull any punches. His approach, the original plan for Andor was like 5 seasons, and because of the costs and all the stuff, they got cut down to 2. So this last season,
wasn't it some ridiculous cost for this? Like,
it was like $60 million or something. Yeah, it was insane. But what they did was, how they broke up. I hated the release schedule, right? They released 3 episodes weekly for like 3 weeks or something like that. I forget how it was, but it was a really annoying release schedule. But they paired the episodes to match that release schedule. So those 3 episodes made a chapter, and then the next 3 jumped a year later, and then the next 3 jumped, kind of you moved along through time and moved the story along. But it did it in a way that was just so, I mean, there's a whole section that takes place on one planet in the middle of the season. That is just, that could stand on its own as a film. Like it was just great. Ripping, and my wife, who is not into any of this stuff, was like, "Are we gonna watch Andor tonight?" Like she got it pulled into it. And it just, you forget, you almost forgot.
She's probably so excited when all the Rogue One characters started showing up, right? She was like, "Oh my god!"
She actually really liked Rogue One. That was fun. So maybe, but it just like, it's the kind of thing that existed in the Star Wars world without any lightsabers, without any mention of the Force, and became something more than just this what takes place before Rogue One. Like it's of course I love Stellan Skarsgård. Fantastic. The woman who plays his worker, she kind of came into her own and became, by the end of the season, just like somebody's like, "Oh my god, she's amazing!" Like everybody delivered just a great performance. With exception of Adria Arjona, that storyline kind of went off the rails a little, but it was just great and totally lives up to the hype. It was honestly like, it was a feat of television filmmaking. So.
Now, I hadn't finished this when you guys talked about Alien Earth on the other media spill. Can you give me a very brief capsule review of where you ended up on it?
I liked the second half more than the first half. My favorite episode was the remake of the movie.
I like the episode recaps at the beginning of the episodes. I thought those were the best parts of it.
You didn't like it?
No, I liked the audacity of it, and I liked some of the risks it took, but then it stumbled in other places, like when
the main thing is the alien should never be outside in the daytime.
The alien was on screen too much, and especially seeing a man in the alien suit in broad daylight in the jungle was like, oh come on, like it was, but
I think there are times in the first movie where you sort of get a full view, and then having seen the making of where you see that big tall skinny guy bending over, it kind of wrecks it. But also, to me, that's part of it. Like, it's a rubber suit, go with it.
No, but you could do it there.
But
here's the thing: we talked about it on the show because you dropped off from the show. You can, like, when the alien blended into the statue in that like first or second episode, and then you see the head move. Like, that's how you use it.
Yeah, I find this difficult to I didn't find myself nitpicking it very much. I found myself watching it and trying to figure out what it is they were trying to say, what they were trying to do, and then B, just sort of continually marveling that like this is a thing that exists.
Yeah,
there's these 8 cinema quality episodes. Like, you could have watched, you could have cut them all down and made a movie out of them, and you would be like, this is a cheap looking movie. And I'm a huge fan of Noah Hawley. And just sort of what he does by reappropriating properties that have no business being reappropriated for television. So I was kind of just trying to pick out the things I liked. And overall, I'm really glad that this existed, and it wouldn't have worked. It could have been really bad, but I thought that even if everything didn't work, it was still thoughtful. I can't remember anybody's name, but the Peter Pan genius guy, great villain. Just like
I really like that actor. I really liked him a lot. Yeah.
I mean, like, Chalamet wasn't available, so they were like, you can do it. And
I think he's Samuel Blinken. I think that's his.
He got
great.
Scarier. Every time you see him is like, he has all the power and he has no scruples whatsoever. I'm a massive Timothy Olyphant fan. I have a piece of art with him as Seth Bullock in my bedroom.
Yep.
Just that's where we are. And I think that every time he was on screen, he was absolutely mesmerizing.
He totally stole the show. He was his like disaffected David Bowie-esque.
Yeah.
Like,
and it was not a typecast for him.
Yeah.
He was not a cowboy.
No, it's very different. Yeah.
I think Sidney Chandler was really interesting and excellent. Like the idea of that these kids are robots, but they're not, and they don't know, and sort of some of the times where they played like the Indian kid and the black kid were playing it too childish, I thought.
Yeah, that's one of our, we've talked about that. It felt like a college acting exercise where like, but pretend you're 11, you know, but then, like, I don't want to do it, you know,
right.
Like,
but then to bring it to like the fact that it's a horror genre and alien, like the sci-fi was, I thought, really good, but also just like the fucking monsters outside of just the xenomorph were terrifying.
Yeah.
Like it was like that eye thing.
I mean, the eye thing could be a whole. I mean, yeah, the eye thing also stole the show.
I like the idea that like you're gonna do it, go out. There's all these other ones too. By the way, they had like Weyland-Yutani didn't just fuck you over this way. They went all out. Yeah, there's a lot of really great stuff about it. I had a lot of fun with it, and I feel like I'm not in a position to nitpick it and criticize it so much because I just enjoyed that it existed and I really liked watching it.
Well, that's what's important. And you get another season. You're getting another season. So
woohoo!
Took a long time to announce that. Paradise. I really struggled with the fifth. You know, when we put the show together, we all know this, but we're telling you that when we have our list, and the fifth slot's the hardest. You can fill the first four, and then you got to pick the last one. That's difficult, and especially with a category like television where there's so many options. But so I really thought about it. And,
how long did you think about it?
I think we know.
I ended up going with Paradise because it was one of those shows. Again, it came out weekly. I remember the experience of every week what's going to happen, because this was Dan Fogelman's follow-up to This Is Us, and so he decided to do this crazy sci-fi show starring Sterling K. Brown and Julianne Nicholson and James Marsden.
Julianne Nicholson is great.
Yeah, and this not only was it a fun experience to watch every week, but I really do think that the second last episode was one of the best episodes of the season, or of the year of TV. So like if I was one of those people who did like an article of best single episodes, I'd put that in the list. It was such a good episode. And, it's just crazy sci-fi premise about a bunch of billionaires who build a fake town because the world is going to shit and climate change, and they need to survive. And and what happens when that starts to break down. I thought it was, really fun. It wasn't the best show of the year in terms of like all these great prestige shows, but it was a lot of fun to watch. And again, had one really terrific episode that was all about James Marsden's character, the president. And there's a murder mystery as well. And there's a lot.
It was enjoyable. I'm glad you picked it and giving a spotlight. It probably fell in my like 6 to 10 section, but it was definitely up there in terms of experience. Like, my sister was the one who was just like, "Oh, you got to check this out." And then you were talking about it, and it was unpredictable. Let's say that.
But in a fun way. This is fun.
Yep.
And every once in a while something would happen, you'll go, "Oh shit," and you'd be totally surprised, and it was enjoyable.
Yep. Every couple times throughout the year, I will take a moment, I'll step back, and I'll try to look at what shows are coming up. And if you guys remember, in like August or September, when I was like freaking out that there wasn't any fall TV, like I used to love fall TV. I'm like, there's nothing to watch. And, so I built a list of everything that was coming out between September and the end of the year of the new shows. And as I'm researching it and as I'm going through stuff, I saw this log line that Netflix had a historical period show starring Michael Shannon, Nick Offerman, Shea Whigham, Bradley Whitford, and Matthew McFadden from Succession about the assassination of James Garfield. And I looked at the text and I was like, and I hit reload and I was like, is this real? And not only was it real, but it was delightful. It was Death by Lightning on Netflix, and it was a tight 4-episode miniseries, like little
although I could have
series.
used a fifth. This is one where I think they could have used another episode.
I agree with you. I could use a fifth because again, give me more Michael Shannon. But it just basically detailed the rise and fall of President James Garfield in a way that was just so engaging and so much fun. Nick Offerman as Chester A. Arthur, again, much like Nuremberg. A topic I knew Chester A. Arthur. I didn't know the details of Chester A. Arthur.
Well, it's funny because the first episode they kept calling him Chester, and I was like,
"Wait
a minute," because he looks like him, and I was like,
"You get as close to a mustache twirling villain as it gets with Shea Whigham as the senator from New York who controls everything." Great Bradley Whitford, it's got political intrigue, it's got the historical piece of it, and then just Michael Shannon is a goddamn American treasure. So
I read an interview with him where he said normally in these situations he gets asked to play the assassin. He's never been asked to play like the
victim,
really great guy who gets killed, and so he's like, I definitely was into it. I heard a podcast earlier this year about this very topic, so I knew quite a bit about it, but man, this is like up all of our alleys. Historical story, a presidential story most people don't know about, which is one of the themes of this whole show, is that this is like a forgotten. In fact, when it started, I turned to my wife, because I'm a jerk, and I said, who killed Kennedy? She knew. Who killed Lincoln? She knew. Who shot Reagan? She knew. I said, who killed Garfield?
Did you know?
I don't know. I do, because I had listened to the podcast.
Right,
I knew about it.
Yeah.
I
didn't know
the
Johnny
podcast
Cash song, and I've read the Candace Millard book this is based on, so I did actually know all this.
Okay.
And Connor texted me and he said, "Are you watching this?" And when he said, I was like, I don't know what it is. Which he doesn't do a lot, basically, because he knows, like, but he was like, and as I looked at it, and I was like, oh, I see why you did that. And I am so angry that Ron put this on the list first. I'm so angry.
Hey, man,
because
snooze you lose.
I have 9,000 wonderful things to say about this, and one thing I hated. So real quick, as I watched this, I was like, well, either Michael Shannon or Matthew McFadden is winning an Emmy.
Yeah.
For different, like, they were both. And it's funny that you said that about Michael Shannon, because I thought, I've never seen him be this, like, morally upright, and he's so good at it.
So good.
I mean, like, he's always been the creepy
breaks
guy.
your heart.
And he just completely nailed, like, this guy that none of us know anything about. And they talked about this at the end. They were like, people won't remember. And they don't remember him. He was gonna be an amazing president. He was a great guy. He was a follow-up to Lincoln. He was a true believer, and he was incredibly smart. He was a good person. It makes it really sad. Then you've got this insane person, Matthew McFadden playing Charlie Guiteau.
I mean, like, in a portrayal, I said to my wife, I'm like, it's a portrayal of mental illness,
and you want to like him.
Like it was like, this guy is either bipolar or schizophrenic or like whatever. Like, they couldn't diagnose it at the time, but there's something off with this poor guy. And the scenes of him, like, getting out of jail and his sister taking him in and trying to pull up by his bootstraps, and then he just takes his sister and his brother-in-law's money again, and is doing the
Trixie
same,
the whore,
like,
as the sister.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's and exactly. It's like, exactly that kind of frustration of a troubled soul at that time period where they just didn't have the capacity to deal with it or help folks. So
Nick Offerman
not having the capacity. I mean, Garfield shouldn't have died.
Nick. No, that's the worst part. They had their own. Who's the doctor? Who's the doctor from Downton Abbey? No.
Oh, they had their own version. Yeah.
Dr. Clarkson from Downton Abbey. Nick Offerman, career performance, I think. And then finally, you are never going to in the entire world tell me that Bradley Whitford wasn't just playing Josh Lyman 100 years earlier.
Exactly.
He walked into a room at one point. I was like, this is 100% Josh Lyman from West Wing. The one thing I didn't like is that there were times where the characters were swearing in a contemporary way that they would not have then, and it really threw me off. They didn't need to speak Shakespearean, but they were like, these motherfuckers, and I was like, it would not.
That's normal for storytelling. You have to.
But also it wasn't consistent. Garfield didn't do it. Garfield acted of the time, and other people didn't, and it was inconsistent. Whether it's done, like, it just knocked me. Like, it didn't feel like it should be there, or that it needed to be. Frankly, because everything else was good enough.
They were contrasting Shea Wiggum's character with.
I know, but then I would have then write it a little more contemporary, or at least like
people wouldn't watch it then. We watch tons of historical fiction where they use modern language.
Listen, whatever, you got your opinions, mine. We don't need to debate it out. But other than that, like, absolutely. I loved it. I was so I was like 4. I get 4 of these. That is not enough.
I know what I think is an interesting parallel is that I know last year we talked about Manhunt on Apple TV Plus, which was the show about John Wilkes Books and Lincoln, where Manhunt failed, Death by Lightning succeeded.
What's funny is that like Manhunt is one of my favorite books that I've ever read. Connor is right there too.
Yep.
This book I really liked because I learned stuff, but it wasn't like, oh man, it's amazing. So you'd think that of the two that got made, it would work the other way around. But like this was almost like a repayment for Manhunt, because Manhunt is so disappointing. Right now,
as a show,
I'm so disappointed. Because it's such a great story, and you know this is, and I mean the thing is, nobody knows shit about this anymore.
It was great. It was just so good. It was so. I mean, every time Shea Wiggum's on screen was just fantastic,
and he just looked like he had the Wolverine hair and
the little curl in the middle. It looked just like the guy. I looked up the guy, like he looked just like him. He did a great job. Yeah,
and Roscoe Conkling is like,
and they all died like within years of this everything happening.
And he's like, he was like a Boss Tweed.
Like Boss Tweed.
Yeah, exactly. And like these are, and they're just gone in history. You know, like I took AP American History, and we just didn't even talk about this.
Blaine was from Maine, so I did have to learn about him.
Yeah.
As was Hebe White, by the way.
Oh, there you go.
The Residents. I talked about this again. Having finished this show afterwards. I mean, I truly thought it was amazing. From a construction standpoint, I don't think it's very far apart from what's the movie you guys were just the
Knives Out.
Knives Out. It's a very Knives Out sort of like in this.
Yeah, totally.
When I'm watching it, the amount of information flying around that then eventually comes to tie back together, and then the sort of the red herrings and the like, it was so complex and also so funny. And just a stellar cast. Just there, like so many bright lights in that cast. It's stupid. I was watching it and I was just thinking, like, why isn't Bronson Pinchot like a continuously like featured star in things? He is.
I saw
a treasure.
I saw a post. I think it was on Threads about how in Beverly Hills Cop, the director kept on all the Bronson Pinchot scenes. They were getting screwed up because the director was laughing at him like audibly off camera.
And they played some of it, and you're like, yeah, it's really fucking funny. But like in this, and he's not doing his foreign man character. He's not doing Balky. He's like the man of 1,000 characters and voices, and they're all funny and great, and he's like a small part of it. And I don't even mean you know, Uzo Aduba is amazing. Jason
He's really
Lee,
really good.
Jason Lee, like just perfect. Like put Jason Lee here, it'll be perfect. And you know, Ken Marino as an irritable person of power.
Ken Marino's the best.
It's it was really a hell of a show, and I'm so glad I watched it. Like it was delight every episode. It was so many things. It's like an ADHD dream.
Rob, did you watch this?
I haven't. It's also on my list, so I hope maybe over the holidays.
This would be something you and your mom would enjoy during the holidays. It's a fun murder mystery with a ton of great actors.
And you won't figure it out. You won't know what's going on because no one does.
My favorite comedy of the year was The Studio from Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg, and a lot of other people. Just a wonderful, funny look at the a fantasy Hollywood that does not exist anymore. That is certain. It's set in the contemporary world, but it's definitely not how Hollywood is currently running. Every episode was different. You never knew what to expect. There was one episode that was just entirely one shot. There was one episode where Martin Scorsese took a star turn. There was one episode where one of those like Office-esque everything continues to go wrong until you can't take it anymore episodes, and it just everyone was funny. The last couple episodes that took place in Vegas at the CinemaCon, where everyone gets super high and has a should be Emmy winning, if not it was Emmy winning. Not Bradley Whitford, that's the thing we just talked about. Bryan Cranston.
He won the Emmy for it.
It was unbelievable. It was almost like a silent film. This show had everything.
The Globes episode with Sal Saperstein and Adam Scott, like that was this was very, very good. Once I realized that this was, you know, had more in common with Curb Your Enthusiasm set in Hollywood than you know, kind of a prestige.
The Player.
Yeah, than The Player or something like that. Once you figured out the rules of this world and this was truly sitcom kind of stuff, you know, it was very, very funny. Very funny.
And they got to play with it. Like there was one episode that was a murder mystery, almost like where it was almost their own noir, where they had to find out who's stealing the film, and it ended up being having to wear a trench coat and a hat because his wardrobe got fucked up, and it became like this funny noir. Like it just they were having a really good time playing with the medium, and I'm glad it's coming back. And I laughed so hard watching this show this year.
Very good. So it's funny. So Connor, as you were talking about the lament of trying to figure out, picking 5 shows and picking 5 of anything, going through stuff, I got to my last 5th slot, and I was, based off of your recommendation earlier this summer, my wife and I started watching The Diplomat on Netflix and burned through the first 2 seasons in time to pick up the 3rd season, and watched it all through and thoroughly enjoyed it. But earlier this year also watched Department Q on Netflix, which I also talked about on an earlier podcast, created by Scott Frank, who's fantastic, who did Monsieur Spade, which we talked about I think last year. And this stars Matthew Good, who's an actor who I've enjoyed, but I feel like he's never really been in anything that was like, yes, that's what it is. Like he was in Watchmen, and then he was on The Good Wife, and he's
Downton Abbey,
stuff like that. There it is. Kelly MacDonald, who I love, is also in this, and
also
about Trainspotting.
He played Robert Evans.
Yeah, exactly. He played Robert
Scott
Evans.
Frank. Like I know he did The Queen's Gambit. He did Godland. Is that right?
Yes,
he did.
Does everything.
No, Scott Frank has an amazing career, by the way. If you look at his rundown, like it's amazing. But anyway, so this is a moody detective drama set in Scotland, where Matthew Good's character is not happy and is not like the opposite of what you think of him as an actor. Up to this point he's been like the handsome,
as opposed to all those cheerful Scottish detectives.
Well, no, but Matthew Good specifically has played a very handsome, charming type, and this is a brooding, bearded, kind of snarky, mean to people type, and takes on cold.
Was David Tennant not available?
Yeah, it could have been, but takes on the a new department dedicated to cold cases, which is kind of seen as a joke, but then actually solves the case, much thanks to his mysterious assistant Akram, who's fantastic. And it just had so much depth and had so much meat on the bones. It was so great. And it was funny because as I was finishing my list, I was chatting with my wife, and I was like, all right, I'm down to The Diplomat or Department Q. And really what I did was I was like, we enjoyed watching The Diplomat because we watched all 3 seasons this year. We caught up. But if I'm just looking at what came out in 2025, I actually didn't think The Diplomat season 3 was as strong as the previous first 2 or better than Department Q. Like Department Q was a better season. And this is, I said it when we did the podcast when we initially talked about it, it hadn't been renewed. And since then it has been renewed. So a 2nd season is coming. This could be a slow horses, like we have our team, give us a season-long case and let's go and just do a show a year, as long as Scott Frank is game for it.
These 2 are on those 2 shows, The Diplomat and Department Q are they're high on my list.
I think you'll like both of them, but for different reasons. But Department Q was just at such a high level operating level. I just had to give it props. So
Scott Frank is he's really something special, and they're all different. It's not like he just does a genre. Like, anyway. So for my 5th slot, I went with Dying for Sex. This is it's not a sitcom. Like it kind of is.
It's uplifting, a real not a bummer show.
It's a really interesting and unique show. I kind of watched the first episode on a lark, and like the log line is like she's dying of cancer, so she's trying to have as much crazy sex as possible. And it wouldn't work if it was just that. It is a lot more than that. It's about I don't even know how to. It's a lot of things, but in the end of the day, it's a really heartfelt show about kind of love in a different sense, like that makes up friendship, that makes up your found family, that makes up what it is to enjoy about life and figuring out who you are
and dealing with trauma.
Which is part of life in a way. Exactly, and I think this show does a really good job of exploring that entire thing, and the whole thing isn't sad as most shows would be about somebody who's dying, and there are sad things. The end of it is like I was crying, but also it's kind of beautiful, like the way that this character accepts it, and I said, but I watched them like, I don't know how you don't give Michelle Williams a like an award for it. Like,
I mean,
she's so fucking good.
The fact that this exists purely has to
Right.
be Michelle Williams saying, "I want to do this."
Yeah,
right.
Right.
I'm always amazed at how electric on screen she is. And when you think about like, oh, she was on Dawson's Creek.
Well, I still
25
think of
years
her
ago.
like that.
She was the
Dawson's Creek
least
girl turned up pretty
interesting
good.
person on Dawson's
Right.
Creek, which is
Exactly.
Exactly. And yet time after time, she's done these roles where they're just completely immersive and you forget who she is. She gets lost in it. Like when she did Fosse Verdon, like that was another one where just like she got, she became the role, which is great, and
she is able to be completely vulnerable in a way that I think people can't do. It's really, and then to me, I love Rob Delaney. I think he's
very funny.
He's very funny, but also like he's got this ability, and we saw this with what's this other show, the British one that I can't remember.
Oh, what was it?
Right. You think about that, but like at first, like his thing is look at this big
catastrophe.
Yep. And he got known for telling like really funny but dirty jokes on Twitter. That's how he got famous.
Right.
But at the same time, like he contains multitudes in that way, and his character in this and their arc I thought was really sweet. It's a really good story. The whole thing is, it's about women who are friends. It's run by women, so it's different than a lot of shows that are run by men. That's just most of what we see, I think, and it gave it what I felt to be some authenticity, but I cannot say for sure. I thought it was a really special show.
It was very good.
Great. It was very brave in a lot of different ways.
I wanted to mention that the Connors ended this year after 7 seasons. The original Roseanne ran 9.
I mean, I'm shocked that you're talking about it, that it ran 7 seasons. That I remember when it started, and then I just completely kind of fell off. So
well, it had such a rocky situation where the show started as not a reboot of Roseanne, but Return to Roseanne, a 10th season. It did really, really well. And then in between the 10th and the 11th season, Roseanne, who has mental health issues, displayed those on Twitter and got canceled. So they rebooted the show at the Connors. So I have on the screen here, this is a show with 7 seasons and 112 episodes, but it's really just the same show. So if you add it all together, Roseanne with 17 seasons and 343 episodes, it's really quite astounding. Great John Goodman. The whole cast is really great. I mean, everyone's great. This is, Laurie Metcalf. They've been playing these characters for literal decades. But I thought it was a really great sitcom. It's a 3-camera sitcom. It's the old school sitcom, but it's still really sharp. A lot of the original writers are on it, and some really, really smart new ones. But the final scene was the core family, and they all burst out crying, and then they all one at a time left the stage until just John Goodman was left, and he left, and they all came back out of character, sat in the couch, and said thank you to the audience, and then that was it. Like they were all weeping because they've been playing these characters since the early 90s, and it was really touching. I got emotional watching because I was a huge Roseanne fan. Roseanne was a great sitcom.
Yes,
and it's unfortunate what happened, but what came out of it was a really interesting show that was not exactly what they planned, but was still very good.
Trivia.
Yeah.
One of the executive producers of this show, he worked with on a show that my wife worked on forever ago. We saw them in San Diego, and we're like, oh, hey. And his son was like a listener of our show forever. Like a big fan. And so he was like, yeah, he's really excited to meet you guys. And I was like, you worked on you worked on Family Ties, for fuck's sake.
I mean, Roseanne premiered in 1988, so these characters from 1988 to 2025 in some way or another. Yeah. Although it was really funny, Michael Fishman, who played DJ, was on the first couple of seasons and then just disappeared and was never seen again and did not come back for the finale. So I don't know what happened there, but he was just sort of sent upstairs with the other Cunningham brother and never seen again.
That's interesting. I was like, who's the guy in the beard? That must be DJ.
The guy in the beard is Darlene's husband.
Didn't the other Cunningham brother die in Vietnam?
I think he just went upstairs and was never seen again.
Oh, I know, but I think he went to Vietnam. So
in the 50s?
Yeah.
The show took place in the 50s.
Did it?
It started in the
50s, early 60s.
It started in the 50s. Yeah.
Because America talks about the early 50s, but they're almost always talking about they talk about the 50s, but they're always picturing the early 60s.
We can't.
Well, he went upstairs. See, the upstairs was really big. So by the time he came out, Gulf of Tonkin had happened.
Where's
so Chuck Cunningham, Richie's older brother in Happy Days, disappeared from the show with no in-universe explanation, leading to fan theories and the term Chuck Cunningham syndrome. But he wasn't explicitly written to Vietnam.
Exactly.
The actor went on to a film career, and the writers just stopped mentioning him. Though some fans imagine him in the war due to the era. So that's
who went to the war in the Wonder Years. Was it Paul's brother or was it what's her name's boyfriend?
Winnie's brother.
Winnie's brother. That's what it was.
Yeah. Winnie's brother.
Yep.
We're gonna take a quick break. We're gonna keep talking about the Wonder Years. We'll be back to talk about music right after this. All right, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we're back.
Well, hang on. Before we go into music, the Happy Days took place during the 50s and the early 60s.
Yeah, the 50s.
So it stars in the 50s, but it
season one where the brother was around was in the 50s. So
Can I tell you my favorite Happy Days episode is the one where Fonzie goes blind, like something happened and he loses his sight, and Richie helps him get his sight back by having him rebuild his motorcycle in blind, and it's Henry Winkler in a bathrobe. Pretending to be blind, and he's holding the carburetor from the motorcycle and goes, "Oh, hello, little carburetor." It's very funny. It's very good.
All right, so we're back with the Ron Richards Memorial Music segment. So let's just kick it off. Let's go.
All right, yeah. So I got to give my album of the year to David Byrne and his record "Who Is the Sky." Came out on Matador. It's funny that this year is kind of the latter portion of this year has become very David Byrne heavy in my household, primarily due to this record. At 73 years old. The guy behind the Talking Heads and is such an amazing creative person. Comes out with a new record and it is as good without missing a beat or a step as any of other stuff earlier in his career. I mean, it is a really fantastic album with some really good songs. And that's further got punctuated by the fact that, we went to go see him on the tour for this album, Who Is This Guy? Which I think I talked about on the podcast earlier, but I saw it at Radio City Music Hall, and it was just a wonderfully produced show, really immersive backgrounds, just like it transcended concert. Like, yes, David Byrne and the band that he plays with were playing the songs, and not only playing new songs from the Who's the Sky album, but also all Talking Head songs, which are fantastic to see in person and live, but doing it in a way that is so engaging and so unique and so creative. It's just David Byrne really, I think, is just an American treasure in terms of what he's able to create and do. The fact that the record Who Is This Guy has now at least, a handful of songs that are like on heavy rotation in my house. My kids are bopping around singing them, like that shows, how much of an impact it can have. And he's just a legend, and it's great to see him still making music. So bravo, David Byrne.
I'm talking about Hamilton. This would be the 10th year of the thing. And I couldn't figure out where else to put it here. We had our Broadway minute or whatever.
We could have had a Broadway segment.
You could have Broadway corner.
I could have. I did two this year. Yeah. So earlier, my younger son, my 11-year-old son, and I have been listening to Hamilton in the car on ski trips for years now. This kid knows all the words. There are a lot of kids like that, even the ones that are pretty much inappropriate. But it's fine because I also got to talk to him about history, many times in the middle of which I'd say, "Do you care what I'm saying?" He goes, "No, it's okay." And I was like, "No shit. Okay." So no. But we heard that Leslie Odom Jr. would be, and I try really hard not to say Lamar Odom, but I've done it many times. He's a basketball player, but the names sound very similar. Was returning to the show for a month in November of this year, or October. Yeah. And I thought I should try it. And my son's been asking to go see it for years. I'm like, well, we'll see, whatever. And then
he's getting into acting though, isn't he? Your son?
Yeah, he actually has been. He's been doing plays. Yeah, awesome. He's in his second play now, and he went to drama camp for a little while over the summer. So yeah, that's been a thing. Obviously, it's been something for him. No, he had to advertise, audition. Like, he had to sing like solo a cappella in front of a bunch of people. He did "You'll Be Back" because he knew it really well. And we saw Leslie Odom's coming back, and I was like, I should try to get tickets, and I did. because I didn't think that was going to be possible. But I ended up with 3 tickets. We sort of found a weekend that worked. It turns out that was the weekend of the New York Marathon, which was the same. When we were in London, we went the same weekend as the London Marathon. So that's a thing I do. But we went and we didn't tell him, and it was a surprise. And he was so fucking tired. He's like, "Why are we out walking?" We were like, "Hey, this is the Hamilton Theater," and he's like, "Uh-huh." Like, he just was out of it. I was like, "We should see if they have tickets," and he was like, "No." He's my son. And then we're like, "No, but I have them," and he was like, "Oh," and he perked the fuck up, and we sat through the show. But I have seen the show in Boston, and this is not the original cast, obviously, except for Odom, and I have never heard a crowd like I did when Odom stepped on stage at the very beginning for the first. Like, they had
awesome
hold that show for a long time, and I've heard it lots of times, and I've seen it, and I've seen the movie, and it's really cool to see what different people bring to it and different beats. Like, oh, this guy's not as good of a Washington, or this, whichever, but Odom is. We were talking about it. I was like, I think we'd all have liked to see Daveed Diggs in this show.
Oh yeah,
but he's got a much smaller role than Odom. In fact, so Odom sort of.
So did Odom came back to play Burr, right?
He played Burr, yeah.
If I see, Odom should have come back and played Hamilton. Like, he should have done a different role. It would have been interesting.
The guy who plays Hamilton now, I was like, oh, he's better.
Yeah. Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
The guy who played Lafayette in Boston was excellent. Anyway,
my wife saw the original cast before she got to, when Lynn announced he was leaving, she pulled the trigger and bought a ticket to go see it. Like, paid more than you.
I paid more than.
Yeah, then but
I bought him directly, but still.
I know several people who came back for this run because of Odom, and everyone paid through the nose for it, which I'm not begrudging them at all. I think it's worth it. These are once in a lifetime moments. You'll never
exactly.
Yeah, and that was the thing. It was the same thing that when I said I saw Glengarry earlier this year, I was like, that felt like a really special thing. And this is the same thing. I was like, Henry's going to remember this forever. Like, it's been long enough now that it's going to be a thing in his head.
He's going to thank you in his Tony speech.
Yeah, just to see that sort of performance and that special, and like, I mean, you want to talk about crowds that are into it and respectful and just watching this, and it's great. It's still so great. I'm not sick of it. You have both said words several times in this that have started Hamilton lyrics in my head. It happens all day, every day, just like we do with like Seinfeld stuff. But I'm really glad we got to do it, and it was special for him and us and everybody. So
awesome.
Also, turns out I know all the words too.
Well, you've probably listened to that album 1,400 times.
Yes, I have.
My original plan was to put my feet up for this segment, but then Josh put a musical on here, so I said, "Oh fuck," because I've seen a musical this year. So, as a New York theater snob, I have been resisting going to see theater here in LA because LA isn't really a theater town.
It's not as good, no.
And also, all the great theater actors are in New York.
Yep.
So I was like, my wife's like, I want to go see Sups, the musical, which is coming to the Pantages Theater here in LA, the national tour. And I was like, okay. I mean, I love theater, so I was like, okay, I'll go, even though because I knew how much you wanted to see it, even though my initial reaction was, here, really?
Her?
So we went, and it was really good. I mean, it's not the original cast, the ones in the poster, but it's a national touring group, and
I'm sorry. Why is my wife in the middle of that poster?
I did this. It's a musical about the suffrage movement. The saga to get women's the right to vote, and it was a great show. The music was really good. It was emotional. There was a lot of cheering women. There was a lot of crying. And I was like, oh fuck. All right. So it's too bad this is not recording later because I'm seeing Stereophonic next week, which I'm so excited about. It was the one show I really wanted to see in New York that closed before I got to come home. But theater in LA can be good, apparently. So now I've got that going for me.
Nice.
Which is nice.
That's fun. So I talked about it on the show previously, if people didn't listen to it, but the month of September to October, I went on a bit of a bender and saw in a 30-day span, I went to 12 shows and saw like almost 20 bands, because admittedly I went to one festival, so that doesn't count, but still went to a lot of shows. But early on in that bender, David Byrne, by the way, was at the end of the bender. That was October 1st. But early on, I dragged my wife with me to Forest Hills Stadium, which I'd never been to. Connor, have you ever been to that venue? Have you?
I have not been, but my sister's gone a lot.
It was great. It's fantastic. Beautiful outdoor.
I heard it's a good venue. Yeah,
it's like in the park.
No, no. So it's
by the tennis center.
It's part of the. It is the tennis center.
Yeah.
And they also, in addition to tennis, they converted into a stage in the summer.
Yeah.
Which has gotten it got very controversial this year. They shut it down, and then there were problems and stuff like that. But anyway, but it's the kind of like reminds me of the Greek in Berkeley, like the amphitheater kind of style, like outside, and you've got this like you're on seats that are high up away from the stage, but in the middle is the general admission area and that sort of thing. But anyway, so Pulp, which is one of the legendary Britpop bands. Everyone knows them from Common People. They're a hit from the 90s. They've been gone for a while. They came back last year, and I went to see them almost a year. It was September 2024. I went to go see them in Brooklyn at the King's Theater. And that was great because it was like, oh, Pulp is back and they're going to go away again. But then this year they surprised everybody with not only another tour, but a new album. And so I said to my wife, I'm like, you've got to come because they're on the list of best frontmen in the world. Jarvis Cocker has to be on it because there's no show like a Pulp show. And seeing Jarvis do his thing and totally delivered. It was a beautiful early autumn night outside, great songs. The songs on the new record are fantastic, and it was just an experience. So if you ever get the chance to see Pulp live in this kind of Renaissance era that they're in, I strongly recommend it because they're so much fun.
It was on the same day as the Bad Religion show. I already had tickets for, so I couldn't go.
It was on
I bought this shirt.
It was on the same day as Superchunk in New York City, which I had bought a ticket to before these tickets went on sale. So unfortunately,
I didn't put Superchunk on here, but I went to see them in a little tiny place, and it was amazing.
Yeah, so Pulp is awesome.
No, I'm wrong. It was on the same day as the Superchunk show here.
Yeah, right. It was right because we had because it was the same issue. Yeah, so. Over on the hardcore side of the world, a band called Military Gun that I've been listening to for the better part of a couple of years that I've yet to see live. I had yet to see live despite several aborted attempts. There was, they played New York once. I found out the day after, and then they were supposed to tour with High Viz, a band I talked about on last year's show. They were supposed to tour with them last spring. This year, earlier this year in the spring, but then the High Viz singer got injured and needed surgery, and they canceled the tour. And I was like, I was going to see Military Gun. But then Military Gun came out with a new record. It's called God Save the Gun. Came out in October. And then they toured with that, and I was able to see them on Long Island, and they totally delivered. They are awesome, good hardcore band in the vein. Like they great pairing with High Viz in terms of this like kind of, 2020s Turnstile-esque modern hardcore, and I can't.
What scene are they out of?
I think they're Canadian, actually.
What's a Canadian hardcore band like?
Yeah, that doesn't even compute.
No, because no, I'm completely wrong, and I have them confused. I have them confused with Milspec. Milspec is Canadian. Military Gun's from LA.
Okay.
So yeah, that's all. But there aren't really any scenes anymore, Connor. Like that's unfortunately there aren't really. That doesn't exist as much. But
It's been homogenized.
Yeah,
right across the board.
I strongly recommend Military Gun. They're a blast. Also on the Britpop side of things, the band that made me fall in love with Britpop, my original favorite, Suede, came out with a new album this year called Antidepressants. Also came out in the fall. It is fascinating that this band, Suede, is now 30 plus years old, broke up, went away in the 2000s, and then reunited, whatever. And they've now then come out of the reunion phase to now where they're just a working band and just cranking out albums. And this record got so positively reviewed. Like it's like on Metacritic, it's got an 89 on Metacritic. And like, I haven't seen a single negative review of it. And so when I finally got the album and listened to it, they are doing a post-punk kind of aging punk, kind of almost like reminds me of Public Image Limited at times, kind of approach, but it just like as vital and as strong and not rehashing the past, which is, it's one thing for these bands to have such a legacy, and Pulp in the same thing. You have such a legacy and people have defined them and put them in a box. And how do you create new music that isn't just treading the same ground? And Suede has just been doing it record after record for the past 5 years, proving that they're not just, it isn't just kind of like a nostalgia act. Like they're as vital as they were 30 years ago. And I just love the fact that there's new Suede in the world, and it just makes me so happy. So
this is going to be a 2-part thing. There was this album, Alive in the Catacombs, by Queens of the Stone Age. Queens of the Stone Age, of course, a very loud, intricate rock band. And what they did was go into the catacombs in France. You'll see all the little skulls in that picture. And they recorded this very odd, not a cappella, but very scaled back, bare bones kind of recordings of I think 5 of their songs. So there's 5 tracks, and there are medleys of certain songs in there. And it's really fascinating to sort of, when you take everything away, like Josh Homme's kind of a crooner in a way, and the songs are very operatic. And I listen to it, and I'm a mid-level Queens fan, I would say, or I had been previously. But it's just one of those, sometimes when if you hear like an acoustic version of something, it kind of unlocks what's cool about the song.
Yep.
Well, in these, it's not acoustic in that way, and it sort of unlocks a lot of what's in the song, and it plays completely differently. Now, the setting of being in there, I don't know why they did it. It just sounds like some weird goth shit, but I know he's into goth chicks. Like, that's the thing he said lots of times. Like, it is the driest possible sound. Like, there's just nothing there. It is almost feels like you shouldn't be listening to it intimate. There are drips that you hear. It is not like isolated. It's a really weird thing that you would think would be a complete vanity project, which it was. So let's give a little history, and then we'll cut to this next. You can leave it there. It's fine. I had heard forever, hey, Queens of the Stone Age, who's a great rock band. They're one of our last great rock bands, I think, in the big sense, in the the rock band sense. I'd heard they were great forever. Ron and I saw them at Riot Fest. It was okay, but that's not, to me, a great venue to see a really big band. It just didn't work in that way. But I was like, all right, I saw them. Then my wife had really wanted, so we saw them in June in the city, and it was a great show, like in sort of a smaller venue, and like they have very big fans. It's like like Tool has fans, like crazy for Tool. Like Queens has fans like that. And it's a great rock show. Like, we just had an awesome time, and it was one of those like, oh, this dude's a rock star, not like a front like Dave Grohl's a rock star, but like I was like, oh, he's like Jagger. Like, he's got the audience in his hand at all moments. They're all watching it. So I hear they're going to do the Catacombs tour, and I think I should try to go get tickets for that. And I missed it. I kind of overslept. I don't know what it was. And I was like, oh, well. And I wasn't too bummed out about it. And our good friend Hank, raging Queens of the Stone Age fan, sends me a link on Reddit. Somebody in Boston is selling tickets, and it's been there for 2 or 3 days. I think they're not gonna have them, but it's fine. I messaged them, and they're like, yeah, we're selling these 2 tickets. They're in the 3rd row, face value, $90 a piece. I was like, cool. And we go, and I'll tell you, this is probably in my top 3 shows I've ever seen in my entire life.
Wow.
That thing about holding an audience in the palm of your hand and watching how they react, I've never seen it to that extent. Everybody who was there had to work really hard to be there and wanted to be there. It was a goth Christmas dress up show kind of thing. So
what'd you dress as?
I put a jacket on. That's I don't have any clothes. Hank did much better than I did. And
I know what he dressed as. Yes, because he called my wife for advice. Yes.
Yeah. So they came out, and the first thing they do is the 5 songs from Alive in the Catacombs, and it's super quiet, and you can hear a pin drop in this place. It's not like one of those shows where you're like, shut up, stop talking, put your phone down. Like, people were just in it, and we, that first 20, 30, we just sat there like, and you didn't have to be a fan necessarily. You didn't have to know everything. it was riveting. And they had like string musicians, they had violins and cellos and other stuff. And then the sort of second part was they brought out more classical musicians. So they had like a little, I forget what it's called, but where they have like a couple of horns and a couple of string sections, like a little, not quartet, but whichever, chamber, like a chamber music kind of thing. And they went through a bunch of arrangements of their songs. And then the third part kept that, but a couple of guitars came out. That's my least favorite part of it, actually, if I'm going to be honest. But I mean, it was just such an experience. Whereas I was like, where your shows where you can really like it, but you're like, I've had enough now. Like, we're good. Like, I was like, I don't want this to end because I don't think this is going to happen again. I don't think this. So, and then Hank was supposed to, is a month after me, and I couldn't tell him anything about it because he didn't want me to.
Yeah.
And
he gets pissed too. So you
but also I didn't want to ruin it for him at all.
Yeah.
And basically, like, he goes to the show, and the next day he's just like, "What did I just see?" I was like, "Probably one of the best shows you've ever seen in your life." He's like, "Oh, definitely." So then he put me on a text chain with his wife, and we've been talking about it for weeks since then. It was amazing. It was such a cool thing that I won't see anything like that again. If they do tour it again, go. It's they really put all the work into it, and it's fantastic.
Yeah, just very briefly to echo that. I mean, very similar experience when I saw Oasis at the Rose Bowl. I talked about it on the podcast earlier, so I don't rehash that, but that was just like, it was a impulsive decision, spur of the moment. I don't want to miss out on this tour. I did not want to see them at the Meadowlands here on the East Coast. I did not think that was a good venue, but the Rose Bowl seemed attractive. And it was just what
on the wall.
It was just, although I did have FOMO of that because a large portion of my friends from the New York hardcore scene were all at the show together and in the general admission area. It looked like they had a blast. So like, I was like, oh, it would have been fun to be there, but still, me and Mike Romo went to go see it at the Rose Bowl. And it was just, it was definitely an experience. I'm glad it was Connor echoing what you're saying earlier about, going to see Hamilton. Like, I'm glad I did it because I have that memory and I can check the box. I saw Oasis and saw them in this moment of the return, the kind of triumphant return that was almost larger than life. And the whole show was a spectacle, but it was great and great songs. And just, one of those nice kind of lovely little moments where nothing's really wrong in the world because the music is so good. So
did they beat anybody up afterwards or sell them drugs or guns or anything?
Not that I'm aware of.
That's what the poster looks like.
Yeah,
that's what the poster looks like.
And then finally coming in very at the 11th hour, but one of my
Saturday.
One of my favorite bands came out with their second record, a band called Plosives, which features John Reese, legendary guitarist from Drive Like Jehu and Rocket from the Crypt and Hot Snakes. He's also in Spike and the Gimme Gimmes now. But they came out with their sophomore record, Yell at Cloud, kind of out of nowhere, surprised all of us. Nobody was expecting it. It's been a while since the first record came out a couple of years ago, and I raved about that. Plosives is the band with John Reese and Rob Crow from Pinback. Rob mainly does the vocals. John does some backups and some vocals here and there. This record is a lot more. Have you listened to it yet, Josh? Or
I didn't even know it was a thing. No.
Oh yeah. So this record is a lot more moody than the first record.
Get to this for years.
This record is a lot more moodier than a little darker than the first record, but in the best possible way. And there's nothing better than a John Reese guitar line. You know it when you hear it, and it just and it's amazing how well it balances with Rob's vocal approach, which is very kind of more I say higher pitched, but at a different kind of register.
Instead of higher register for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah,
just great. And it's I love seeing a new band doing new music, although with great musicians who've got a great legacy behind them, and not just putting out like a record and going away, but like here
great drummer.
Commitment. Yeah, very good drummer. But shows commitment with their second album, and I hope they tour next year because they're awesome. So
cool.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, before I mention, I'm going to put together a playlist with songs from all the bands I talked about here, and we'll link to it on the show. So go to the show notes. You have a link to it, and you can go listen to some of these music. I don't know why we haven't done that in the past, but I will be doing that.
It's a good idea.
Yeah. So thanks,
Uncle Ron.
You're welcome.
Let's talk about books. Ron's going to take a snooze because he didn't read any books this year, apparently.
It's funny. I did. I mean, I read some books, but nothing. Like I read Henry Winkler's biography, which Connor, you got me, which is fantastic. But like, I didn't read anything of substance, and I got so busy at work that like at the end of the day I was just like passed out. So like I fell behind on the reading train this year.
I didn't see any movies. It's cool.
Yeah, exactly. It's similar to that. So I'm going to try to do better next year, but it'd be nicer if some sci-fi books came out to grab me. So I'm going to look for that next year. But
all right, well, you might want to pay attention. There's some things you might find interesting. Number one, I'm going to start talking about is Lorne, The Man Who Invented Saturday Night Live by Susan Morrison. Whenever anybody asks my favorite TV show, I always say Twin Peaks, and it's probably really Saturday Night Live if I really think about it. I love it when it's great. I love it when it's bad. I love it when it's good, which is most of the time. So this is a 656 page book, and while I was reading it, I couldn't stop thinking about Saturday Night Live and Lorne and all the people. Like I rewatched the Saturday Night movie. I was going through the old Saturday Night oral history book. Like during this period, I couldn't stop thinking about this scene of coming out of Canada that changed comedy forever. This show that has driven comedy in the United States since the 70s. Like I couldn't stop thinking about this book while I was reading it. All I wanted to do was continue to read it during the day. It was like we played World of Warcraft. I couldn't stop. And when it was over, I was bummed.
I read this. I didn't listen to. I read this book.
Yeah.
And it is such a compelling page turner, and you learn more about the man than you ever have, and I still don't fucking understand him.
No, he's unknowable.
Yeah, he is, and
which you think would be a problem for the book, but the book is utterly compelling.
Yeah, no, she really got not around that, but she had to work with it.
Yep.
And like the force that is this person is unreal, and the impact and sort of our world, and
Yep.
like there's a million eras as you go through it, and that connecting Chevy Chase to Kevin Nealon or Norm Macdonald, and it's just like it's crazy, and that really all of this sort of hinges around this guy's undefinable taste. Really,
Yeah.
that's kind of all it is. It's just that he's that's funny, that's not, and he's a complete weirdo. Just because he's been too many things. Too many things have happened, and so he doesn't make sense. But it's fascinating.
It's Ron. I mean, this is a great book. If you'd love this book as a Hollywood book, as
all the stories
book.
And all the stuff.
It's really, really good. And
it is one of those things where like we there's not a lot in here where like I don't know any, like not I don't know the story, but like I don't know the air. Like you have context for every single thing that happens in here because it's all been part of our lives and in culture's life. Even the parts that you weren't really alive for, like you still know them. So it
and it came out during the 50th anniversary. So there's a lot of all those documentaries we talked about in the show. So reading the book, watching those documentaries, and then NBC played the first episode again. So having read the book, there's a long bit about the first episode. And so then rewatching it, it was just like I was just stuck in this like Lorne loop for like 6 months, or not that long, but however long.
The format is actually really, really interesting in that like half of the book, and it alternates, is about basically the week that Jonah Hill hosted in 2017 and how they do the show nuts and bolts.
Like it's by day, it goes Monday, and
right?
It goes to that day, and then it goes back in time, and then
Tuesday, you talk about 1974 to 1978, and then Tuesday, and it's it's like one of those books where like they keep switching characters, and you're like, no, go back, but then you're like, oh, and then they go back, and it's
he really
hell of a piece.
He does not give a shit that he will talk shit about people and not care that it's in the book, because he's more powerful than the NBC is.
Yeah, a couple of. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, Ron, you had talked about the Lollapalooza documentary that was on Peacock. I actually just watched it.
Paramount Plus.
Damn it. I don't know how to keep these things. I can't keep Paramount and Peacock separate in my head. I don't know what to
P's.
So
they're in the P district.
And I'm going to go ahead and just put this out. I'm going to say the thing now. I listen to, I think, all of these as audiobooks. There's not a good word for that. So I'm going to say read because it's easier. Because that's how I'm able to do it. Lollapalooza, the uncensored story of alternative rock's wildest festival by Richard Beanstalk and Tom Beaujour, or Beautiful Day. Having experienced those two things in the same time, I would say that this book is a superior experience in terms of learning about it. You get all the footage and everything in the
more documentary, more detail in the book,
more detail, but also it's not quite the isn't Perry Farrell the greatest person to walk the earth story. But this really is an oral history of each year and the difficulties, and the triumphs that sort of went through that that festival and what it turned into, which is fucking unrecognizable to me. And nothing's quite as fascinating as the first 3 or 4 years, really. The stories of Nine Inch Nails on that stage and Gibby Haynes and his shotgun and just sort of the context and all the different voices that go into it. It's the best kind of sort of rock book. And it's just like all the people, it's not so long ago that the people aren't still there and remember, but it's long enough ago that you get to have a little perspective on it than you used to. And I didn't come out of this like, oh man, I've really become a huge fan of this thing or that. Kind of the stories are largely what the kind of the rock stars are kind of who you think they were, at the time, which is kind of, I guess it's almost kind of shows you how authentic things were back then, because a lot of the people, especially in the early bit, they didn't really know how to be celebrities, so they weren't trying to be, which is why I think we liked a lot of it turns out that people who grew up in our era really like the authenticity of the artists in that era, as opposed to the big show thing. And I think this was a lot of that. You couldn't stop. It's just too fascinating if you're our age. Although, from what I understand, a lot of young people like a lot of these bands now.
Yep.
There's definitely a resurgence of that stuff coming around, but
there's not any new rock coming out. So if you like that music, you listen to the old stuff.
I made it sort of a joke about Perry Farrell, but he is the creative mind behind the whole thing. He's the one who, much like Lorne, it was his taste.
Yeah,
to sort of put things there and say, you can't do that. You can do this.
For 5 years, he was, like an iron grip on it, right?
Yeah. So, and there were other voices and forces and whatever, and things happen. And and it gets in the notes well, Nirvana was going to do it, but this, and here's what Metallica, all that meant. I was really well done. I know I have read Richard Beanstalk books before. He's a good writer, but I couldn't tell you what it was right now. Also, these really cool stories about people who ended up on the side stage because they got really big in the time between when they were booked and when they were going to do the show, and they kept them on there.
Well, they talked about that in the documentary too.
Yeah, it's more of that.
The challenge of booking. I mean, the fact that I remember the second year when I went to it, and Pearl Jam was the second or third band on the bill, and by the time the tour rolled around, they'd exploded, and it was so it was funny.
The guy from Korn nearly died of an infection on a bus. They didn't do that. It was crazy. You should if it sounds like the kind of thing you like, you should check this book out. It's worth it.
Yeah, definitely.
Ron, did you watch the Murderbot show on Apple TV?
I did not. The Skarsgård show. Yeah.
So I got into the Murderbot Diaries this year. They're 7, I think, novellas and 1 full-length novel that are in this series about the Murderbot. The first one's called All Systems Red. That's what I'm talking about here. Martha Wells wrote the first novella is 160 pages.
And they got that great quote on the front, "I love Murderbot," which really says it all.
These are great. Great little sci-fi books, very inventive, unlike other sci-fi stories I've read before. And you fly through them. And the main character, Murderbot, is a robot that is designed for murder. It's basically like a security bot that you can rent as in the first book. It's about this team of scientists that go on this planet, and they have the insurance company makes them rent a murder bot to protect them, and it's things obviously go wrong, but the character itself is so unique and interesting. The TV show was not very good, although Skarsgård was really good as the murder bot, but everything else didn't really work for me. But I flew through the first 4, and I have the next 3 sitting on a shelf waiting for me. Really fun, inventive, interesting sci-fi that I just, it makes me happy because as a kid I read a lot of sci-fi. I think as an adult my sci-fi reading was mostly taken up by the Expanse series, and then I'm just always happy to find new sci-fi, and this was something I really, really, really liked a lot. And they're very popular, and they're very, like Hugo and Nebula Award-winning. They're really good. They're really good novellas, and so I recommend people check them out if they haven't already. That one way better than the TV show.
That sounds real good. I think last year I talked about having read Shogun by James Clavell. I don't remember if the show was that year or the one before, but I've sort of definitely been in a Japanese Edo period and post. So while unrelated mostly, there is a series of books called The Asian Saga that he did. I don't know that that's okay. That's what they're called.
It's just an area in the world it's located called Asia.
Yeah. And so basically from the second book on, it sort of follows a family, or several families that are sort of intertwined over history. So we're talking about shoguns in about 1600. Taipan is the second one. It's 1841. This book's 1862. Taipan takes place largely in basically at the time when Hong Kong was developed into sort of a European area. This takes place about 20 years later, and the Taipan is the character in Taipan, and this one's about his son and the company as they start moving into Japan. Basically, Japan was closed to the West for the entire period following Shogun until about the late 1800s, when they opened to the West. And so this is sort of the first part of European traders going back and doing business with Japan. And the thing that I love, I think it's fairly safe to say that my favorite kinds of books are massive, sprawling historical epics. I say my two favorite books are somewhere between Cryptonomicon and Seven Eves. And Seven Eves isn't that, but Cryptonomicon is. We're talking about 1,000+ page books, where you have gotten to know these families over the courses of 100 years, and these clashing of cultures. And, I've fully admit that this is written from a European perspective, and it's probably greatly dramatized and fantasized and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's a hell of a yarn, and it goes on, and there's all of this intrigue and the good and evil men, and there's the one family who hates the Taipan's family, and they've hated each other for 100 years, and they're always trying to kill each other and steal their businesses. And I went back and forth whether to talk about Taipan or Gaijin, because I sort of went right back to back with both of them. But the Struans are the big family here. There's some things in here that I don't know how you get away with them now, but it's so much I can't even it's hard to describe the book because literally so much happens. There is so much intrigue and political machinations, and there's a guy who is making he's trying to be the shogun, again, trying to take charge he's brilliant. It's one of those things where you watch the plot that is set up and you're like, God, that's brilliant. And it's taking place over, hundreds and hundreds of pages. Guy's a hell of a novelist. And he's sort of done all of the, and it makes you feel like you're there. There's so much detail about the culture and the place, and it makes you believe it. And I've said this before, when it's hard for me to remember that Shogun is not history. It is not that. It is a different thing because it is written as if it's history, and you it's very believable in that way. I think I am at 3 or 4 books in, and I want to keep going. I just took a break. You know why? Because the next one's very short, and I was like, I don't want that. I want a long one, which is odd. So I'll check back in.
That's what she said.
Yeah.
I love crime books. I love crime stories. I love noir. After moving to Los Angeles, I took a deep dive into LA noir. I read everything Raymond Chandler wrote. I read a bunch of Stuart Kaminsky. And then at a certain point, I decided I need to jump into James Ellroy. And I read a bunch of James Ellroy. I've been making my way through his different series. I read his LA Quartet. I'm on the second LA Quartet right now. And of his books, his grand epic is LA Confidential, which was made into an amazing film. I would put Perfidia right below LA Confidential. It was so good. 700 pages of intricate, interweaving, overlapping LA noir taking place. And all of his books, there's an Ellroy universe. They all have characters from the LA Confidential characters continue on in their lives, or you meet them as younger guys in the earlier quartet. So this book continued, it has what's his name? The bad guy.
Russell Crowe.
No, it has the one who was killed in the movie, but not in the book. The main bad guy. Anyway, James Cromwell's character.
Oh.
And so it's just this amazing look at post-war?
Yes. No.
No, this one is post-war. No, this is a prequel. Sorry, this is the prequel book. I read a bunch of these this year. That takes place in Los Angeles around the time of the war. Around the they're rounding up the Japanese for internment.
Dudley Smith.
One of the main characters is a really well-regarded Japanese medical examiner in the LAPD, and so he's dealing with the push and pull between being a loyal cop, but also his family and friends are being rounded up, and it's just there's a lot of history and there's crime, there's murder, there's a bunch of murders, a bunch of Japanese people are killed, Japanese families killed, and that's sort of the main basis of the story. Just Elroy is down and dirty and wonderful. And
is he your favorite?
No, but he just writes great crime stories, and he's really, really good at it. I mean, it's just.
I need to really get.
It does. 720 didn't feel like 720. I was in fact surprised when I saw the number of how many pages it was. I just flew through it. And I don't love all of his books. He wrote White Jazz. I hated, but he writes really incredible crime books.
Right, The Ship Beneath the Ice: The Discovery of Shackleton's Endurance by Menson Bound. I ended up with this, and then I put it off for a really long time because this is not the story of the Endurance, but the story of finding the Endurance. Which
how many books have you read about the Endurance? 3. Yeah, and you have an Endurance behind you.
I do. I have a Lego Endurance behind me, which is my favorite.
You get an Endurance tattoo.
Have you figured it out?
What if you got the boat across your chest? Or your back?
Yeah, I'll have to go through.
But, I mean, clearly you're searching for something. Have you found it?
No.
You should write a book. You should write a book about your experience of searching for. You call it Searching for Endurance, and
I mean that's kind of what this is.
You could start a self-help club about finding your own endurance.
You should do a podcast.
What is your endurance? And
about
finding your own endurance.
I'm gonna look through the Frank Hurley book of photos. And we're going to find the right thing for it. Okay, so this is the story of finding the ship which had been lost. It's sort of the great unknown wreck. They've never been able to find it. The Endurance went down in 1914, I want to say, and the crew. It's a whole thing. And the ship was never found, and largely because the idea of exploring in the Antarctic seas is just so impossible up until now. The way that technology works and the way that the weather is, it's just made it exceedingly difficult. Many people thought it was impossible. So I was worried that this book could be very dry and awful, so I had put it off. And then as soon as I started going, it was not that. Menson Bound is he's a shipwreck hunter. He's an archaeologist it's the coolest fucking job on earth, is to find shipwrecks, that they haven't seen. And, they'll look at the histories and be like, well, it sounds like a ship went down here in 1450, and they go and they find a Viking hull. And so the big grail for everybody, like Everest, is who could find the Endurance. And they, basically, this guy did all the work. And this is based on his diaries at the time. And he makes a point in the beginning to be like, this is my version of the story. The other people may, so basically maybe I don't know if there's controversy about it. It sounds like among this very small group, there's a lot of fighting. But either way, they went out, I want to say in I don't remember the years, 22. No, 20. They went out before the pandemic, so we'll say 19 or something like that, and they failed. They did not manage to find the ship. Things went wrong, and then had to go back. And he's like, "This is it. This is my last chance." And it, sort of details what it took to get there. And I know they found it because I saw it in the New York Times. But the book really had a sense of like urgency, and so both, in the same way that I find the older books about exploration interesting because you're watching them do amazing things with technology that is nowhere near ours. It's just as interesting to hear how they can use technology to do these things now. They're both sort of bleeding edge kinds of things. There's a documentary that was on Nat Geo that it shows a lot of this. And if you do read this book, I recommend watching that after, because I like to picture
the one to cover Exploration Endurance 22 Expedition. Is that it?
Yeah.
It's a better, punchier title.
Yeah. Well, I forget what that's called. But like, anyway,
I met a treasure hunter recently at a business meeting. He wanted to make a game out of his treasure hunting, and he talked about it. And he had an inherent sense of coolness.
I was gonna say he was talking about it, and it wasn't a thing that I thought was real. Or
it's a real thing. There's people who spend millions of dollars finding emeralds and fucking
of course
gold.
I think it's the coolest, most macho job you can have at this point in the I think it might be.
I learned something interesting though. It's you can pull all this stuff out of the ocean, but then what do you do with it? Because there's not a lot of people who can afford to buy priceless treasures. It's like there's only so many museums you can sell them to, or so many rich guys. It's like he's got all this treasure that he can't sell to anybody.
Well, one of the things that's really interesting.
I got all this treasure.
I got all this emeralds.
Nobody take it.
What? You don't want a ruby? Well, what was fascinating about the Endurance is that like where it's so cold where it was there's no life, there's no bacteria. The ship's in perfect condition.
Right.
It's not like when you see the Titanic, it's in cold, deep water, but shit rotted. You know, like here, I mean, it's in really good condition. Like I went to that Titanic exhibit and I saw, you know, relics from it, but like this thing was the day it went down, so it's pretty cool.
Right.
Anyway, that's enough.
I think next year you get a tattoo. I think we all decided. The Killer Troubadour, Mystery of the French Countryside by Martin Walker. This is the 15th book of a currently 19-book series where journalist Martin Walker just every year puts out a 250-page mystery set in the Dordogne region of France, and it's this was one of the better ones in a while. I enjoy them all, even when they're not great. But this was like every once in a while he'll do like a really good one, and this was one of them. The great thing about this book is, yes, there's always a mystery. It's usually a murder, but as much time is spent on the murder is spent on describing the meals that they are cooking, and it's sort of like murder / French food porn, and I just love everything about it. I have a stack. I have all the 19 books.
Coq au vin.
I read one a year in case, because he's not a young man. I read one a year in case he kicks off, and I still have time. I'll have more to read. But it's like my summer reading. Like when I go on my summer vacation, I bring a Martin Walker book and a couple other books, and I read that on the beach, and it makes me very happy, and then hungry, and then happy again.
The name of this band is REM, a biography written by Peter Ames Carlin. Peter Ames Carlin wrote one of my favorite rock biographies ever, which was about the Beach Boys, called Catch a Wave. And so I will very frequently read biographies of bands and artists who I do not particularly like, because usually they're still very interesting. Now, I'm not an REM fan. In fact, after reading this book, I went back and I was like, well, let's listen to it again. I was like, I still don't like this. But that being said, no one should be able to discount sort of the importance that REM had in striding that line. They're not really considered part of the underground, but they were an independent band who became really, really successcell.
I mean, they were the icons of college radio in the 80s.
Right.
I mean, yeah, totally. Yeah.
When they came to Madison Square Garden in like 95.
Yeah, my wife was at that show.
75% of my high school was at one.
Yes, that's the Monster Tour.
That's the one.
What's the frequency mechanic?
Peter Buck had not Peter Buck. Bill Berry had. He was either right before or right after that.
Literally,
I think that's the one
everybody went to that show when they came.
Anyway,
they were huge.
So they went from being a completely self-made, self-determining indie rock band to, I mean, arguably the biggest rock band in the world at the time. People, I've noticed this. Like we always talk about Nirvana when we talk about that point, but like REM was also a gigantic rock band. And I was saying that I watched Pop Culture Jeopardy, and like questions kept coming up and nobody knew who they were, and I was like, this is insane.
Well, they just disappeared, right? They stopped playing, and
because they didn't want to.
They dropped off the cultural map. So unless you're our age,
right.
And so, you know, as a sort of story, like Michael Stipe has always been kind of a mystery. You know, he was omnipresent when we were growing up, sort of in pop culture, but he's just a weird person who doesn't really give you much of himself. He does in a way, but just sort of, you know, hear his story. Peter Ames Carlin is an amazing writer. He wrote a book about Bruce Springsteen too, which I didn't read. And I have it, I think. You know, just sort of learning about these. It's one of the things that like there's little things that stick with you and you read about it. Like, oh, Mike Mills is the bass player. Like, he's the musical genius of the band. Like, he could play anything. He understands, like, and you'll hear whatever sort of pretty basic song structures and stuff. But, you know, he's the one who can put that into a musical context that's actually relatively sophisticated. And they were like, and Peter Buck, he just loved to play guitar. They were like, he'll sit in with anybody. And I was like, that's true. I've seen him sit in with multiple bands.
But didn't they just sort of like the one band that just sort of like stopped playing and they're still all friends? They don't want to play music anymore, but they all hang out and they're still buddies and
they just had, I think, at least more than anybody, Michael Stipe had been like, I don't want to do this thing anymore. Like he wanted to do other things and he went on to do that. But without, like, honestly, for most of it, really having very little sense of the commercial, other than saying this will be really a lot of things that shouldn't have worked at all and some things that didn't.
I think they also helped that they
story.
During that period of MTV, they had that sense to make really interesting music videos when that mattered.
But they had a chance at the beginning. For a long time, they refused to, and they
but I'm saying eventually they did, and those things helped propel their popularity.
But to me, what was really interesting about that was like when they had "Fall on Me," which was their most commercial song they'd ever done. I mean, everybody knows it in their head. They did I think that's the one where like it's black and white. It has no people in it. It's like shots of a quarry and plants. I think that's the one, or one. But either way, like.
I think "Losing My Religion's their most popular commercial.
Yes, song. but they were When I didn't get MTV till later when we did, that was on every 9 minutes, and I still hate it. Tarsim. But they did it also. If you're me, they brought the Replacements and the Minutemen on tour with them when nobody would have ever considered doing such a thing, and the Replacements got kicked off, and then D. Boon died right after that. But they still brought them. That's the point. So if you like rock biographies and again of that time, I didn't realize I talked like 2 of these. It's pretty good.
The Impossible Fortune of Thursday Murder Club Mystery by Richard Osman. This is the latest, I think the 4th Thursday Murder Club series. I just love these books. They are cozy murder mysteries. Takes place in a old folks home in England. They just adapted the first book into a decent Netflix film that I enjoyed, but there were a lot of problems, but it's still enjoyable. Just the characters are so good. Richard Osman is a TV presenter and producer and executive out of England, and he's going to come up again later. And he's just really, really smart and good with dialogue and very funny. And you just like hanging out. It's a cozy murder. It's like, half the British shows on TV. You don't go for the intricate murder mystery. You go for the characters and you go for the relationships, and it's just delightful. This is the most delightful book I read every year when they come out, and
it's delightful murder.
It is delightful murder. Usually people get murder deserve it in these books, which is fine. It's like Columbo.
You had to add in these books, because you don't want that quote getting out.
Yeah, they're good though. They're really good.
What are you doing out there breathing? What do you think is going to happen? Hey, speaking of murders, I have gone all in on Dennis Lehane. I said I'm going to do the whole of. Connor, where are you on a Dennis Lehane? Have you read?
I've read A Drink Before the War. I have read not any of these. I read Mystic River, and I read the one you sent me, the baseball one.
Oh, and The Given Day.
Yeah.
I
love all. I love all.
Yeah, I haven't.
Not Every John's a great movie. I have not read the book though.
Well, okay, I have to. So I read what's the. He did one, Small Mercies, which was it was about Boston. And I thought that's really good. And I thought, you know what, I'm gonna do the first Kenzie and Gennaro book. So basically, Kenzie and Gennaro are private investigators. If you saw Gone Baby Gone, that's Casey Affleck and Michelle Monaghan. And I really liked that movie. It's dark as shit.
It's a great movie.
But as I was reading through these at first, I was like, I don't know that I see what they put there. And I was curious, and I was like, I'll watch Gone Baby Gone after I finish the book Gone Baby Gone. And I just flew through all of these. They are about the most depraved and awful things that could ever happen to people. And they're pulpy, but there's also something very like he does a lot of pop culture references in these in a way that are sort of like the things that he liked at that time. And I almost don't like it, but also it just sort of gives them a different flavor than something that's totally trying to be completely arch. A Drink Before the War is the first one. It's not great. like there's definitely something there, but I like as I was in the middle of it, I thought, is this like his first book? And I looked and I was like, yeah, that's why it's his first book. And it is so as you go through these, he gets better, obviously, and you really get to know these characters. Again, I talked about super long epic books, when that's what these are, like if you put them all together, it's one thing after another. By the way, there isn't a therapist good enough to fix people for what these fictional people have been through. But that's the thing you have to put aside from believability. I think it's actually very possible that Gone Baby Gone was the best of the books. Moonlight Mile comes out much later than the others. You can see there's an 11-year gap in when it was published. The others were sort of like 94, 96, 97, 98, 99. And the book actually does take place.
Well, he wrote other books. These are
right. No, I get that. I'm just saying
break on other things
in this series though. Yeah. But you come back and Moonlight Mile is 15 years after Gone Baby Gone. And so like the world has changed. Those characters have moved along. They're in their 40s at that point. But also just because I am very familiar with Boston, like everything in here takes place in places that I have been. And so it makes it really easy to put yourself there and to see it and to understand it. I never used to think I liked books like this, like these sort of dark mystery things, but he does a thing, with the exception of Shutter Island, that I really like. I don't know. I guess I should read that book to be sure, but I barely made it through the movie. But yeah, they're absolutely recommended.
Very different, but my wife met him at a English or librarian convention. She said he was super, super nice and awesome.
I think he has good taste in bands, from what I can tell here. He talked about going to see a bunch of them. Well, the character talked about going to see a bunch of them at Great Woods, and I was like, I think you like these bands, but that's totally fine.
Well, I'm happy. I'm happy to go back to books. I'm happy to report that the new Captives War novel comes out in April 26th. So I'll at least have that to talk about next year.
Is that the new
James S.A. Corey book?
Okay.
Yeah, the next one. And
that first one on my shelf. I need to read. Podcasts. We're on a podcast talking about podcasts. First one, we talked about the town many times in the show with Matt Bellamy. But I actually wasn't going to put it on the list because we've talked about it. But the thing is, like, Hollywood is in flux. If you follow the business of Hollywood at all, this is like the most, maybe live in interesting times moment of Hollywood. And everyone listens to the show here in LA or in the entertainment business. You have to listen to it if you're at all interested in the business or work in the business of Hollywood or entertainment. And it's a must listen. It comes out 2 to 3 to 4, sometimes 4 times a week, depending on what's going on in the world. And we were joking because right as that started the show, Ron and I got the alert that the new episode was out about the Netflix Warner Brothers deal. We were going to mention it again, but it's just, and I wanted to, we both joked about pausing the show to listen because you kind of have to. And it does it make Matt Bellamy kind of annoying sometimes because the power is going to his head a little bit. But
I was gonna say, like, you guys talk about it all the time, and I was like, do you like this person?
I mean,
I don't know him.
I don't know. Yeah, we don't know. I mean, but as a host,
you listen to somebody talk that much, you sort of get to know them.
I really, we talked about it. I really like Lucas Shaw, who writes for Bloomberg, who comes on the show on Mondays. So as Conor mentioned, it comes out, at least 2 to 3 episodes a week, right? So but the same guy comes on every Monday, and he's really good. He's a great reporter for Bloomberg.
Monday's really like the overview of what's happening, and then there's usually an interview, and then there's usually like breaking news or another interviewer. But Monday's
analysis of what's going on.
Monday's like the overview of what's happening.
How long are these shows?
30 minutes.
Half an hour. Yeah. I will give them credit though, but the ongoing rapport between Bellamy, Lucas Shaw, and the producer Craig, and then they have throughout the year they have like a box office draft, and they have a whole bunch of bits that they do throughout the year that take out of the news or the reality of the world and bring it into more of a enjoyment of Hollywood and enjoyment of the industry. It's good. It's there. And the length, the half hour is perfect. I mean, I listen to it. I go,
I'm doing dishes or whatever.
I go run 4 miles and I can get an episode in that time period. And it's almost perfect in that regard. So, Or
if I'm driving somewhere, it's a 30-minute drive. I listen. But it's a must listen to keep on top of what's happening. And because everyone else is listening to it, you really kind of have to keep up with it.
Yep. For me, the podcast of the year that I enjoyed coming, late to it, they're enjoying their 10th anniversary, but Blank Check with Griffin and David, it was, they ended up on Time's best podcast list this year, which is crazy. Griffin Newman, who you might recognize, he was in the Tick, the most recent rendition of the Tick on Amazon. But he did not as the Tick, but as the nerdy
Flea
sidekick, the Flea, or whatever.
Arthur.
Arthur. Yeah. And
I can't believe I knew that.
And David Sims is a writer for the Atlantic who does movie reviews for the Atlantic. And these are, 2 hour plus deep dive discussions, often with special guests, about movies. And they're clearly all movie lovers and love talking about the level of detail that we do. But I'll give them, they will do these mini series within the podcast where they do an entire filmography of a director or a team of directors. And most recently this year, for the majority of this year, it was the Coen brothers. So for the past kind of 3 or 4 months, I've been listening to these 2 hour plus episodes of deep dives into every Coen brothers movie. It's been really fascinating. The whole premise of the show Blank Check is that it's, analyzing the filmographies of directors who have massive success in their career and then given a series of blank checks to do what, so like after Back to the Future, Zemeckis can do whatever he wants. And with that, he did Forrest Gump and then did the fucking Polar Express, and it's like seeing what worked and what didn't work. And, a year and a half or 2 years ago, they did Spielberg. I talked about that on the Media Split podcast. And I've gone back and listened to a lot of their archive to listen to like my favorite movies or things like that. But the Coen brothers one was really the first one since listening to it that I've listened to every episode in the series. And it's been a great, kind of now they had Seth Rogen on, they've had they did the Buster Scruggs movie, and they had Mantzoukas and Paul Scheer from How Did This Get Made. That was a nice little kind of pairing. They've had they had the guy who made Weapons on the show. They had the guy who made Eddington on the show. So they have directors on the show. They have media personalities, and it's a very Maron came on and did an episode, the episode for A Serious Man, which is one of my favorite Coen brothers, right? So they had Mark Maron on talking about Jewish representation in film. But as a film lover, podcast is fantastic. I went to they did a live show at Town Hall in the spring where they did the movie King Ralph with John Goodman of the Connors.
Didn't expect that.
And that was a great live show. It was a great, a live podcast is a tough thing to do, but they pulled it off and it was a blast. And so it's been a lot of fun going deep into the world of Blank Check. And if you love movies, I would strongly recommend it.
It's funny, whenever a show I listen to does a live episode, I often skip it because
I've done that too.
It's not the same as they don't. Yeah. It's not the same. Like The Town, I do sometimes. It depends on what he's doing, but they just perform differently.
Yep.
Or they perform to the audience as opposed to talking about what they're talking about.
Anyway.
Yeah. You're absolutely right.
Yep.
A show I just discovered this year. It's been around for a while. The Rest is Entertainment with Marina Hyde and Richard Hosman, the writer of the Thursday Murder Club. I found it because of him. This is very much like a companion piece to The Town. It comes out twice a week for regular folks. It's the third. They have subscribers only third episode. But it's basically kind of The Town, but from a British perspective. And so,
interesting.
They're both Marina Hyde is a TV journalist / TV producer, and Richard Osman, I said this before, is a host, producer, executive, writer. So they'll talk about what's going on in Hollywood, and so it's interesting to get an outsider's perspective. But they also talk about what's going on in the very insular and small British entertainment world, which I don't know as well, but it's fascinating to hear about. I mean, Josh and I spent many years working for a British company. I had several British girlfriends, and just that world is somewhat familiar to me. And so it's interesting to get that. So I'm learning a lot about what's happening in the entertainment, and I'm just finding it interesting. So they're a little longer. Well, they do 30 minutes, sometimes an hour, but
that perspective is really interesting because the UK has their whole own entertainment ecosystem, right?
Yeah,
the BAFTAs and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So,
and it's sometimes funny. They'll say something, I'm like, and I'll get like really like my back up, like, well, you don't know what you're talking, like, because they'll say something negative about the U.S. industry, but but it's interesting, and they do one episode with like the news, and then the second episode is a Q&A, and so people asking about behind the scenes stuff. How does this work? How does this get made? Like, what do you do in this show? And I find it interesting. I don't listen to every single episode, but I listen to most of them, and they're both funny and smart, so it's good.
Yeah.
Gone South was it was Connor introduced me to it a few years ago, and what it was a long form investigation into a single case for, I want to say, 3 seasons. By Jed Lipinski. Had been a journalism crime writer, basically, in various cities in the South. I want to say he was in New Orleans for a certain bit or whatever. The idea was, this is a case that happened in the South, and then they talk to everybody, because they're contemporary enough that there are still people around. And again, one of the things that I really liked about it was that it wasn't just a person telling me a story. It was a skilled, experienced journalist doing journalism, talking to people. There's podcasts. Yes, absolutely. But there's podcasts out there that do like crime podcasts, but they're basically just reading a Wikipedia entry. He's doing the reporting. And to me, that is the critical difference. So he did 3 of those. They're like long form. And I'd mentioned that, like with the books, is that I really just love a long form story. So, it's funny, but if it's like a 2-hour podcast episode, I was like, I can't do that. 19 hours. Absolutely. Let's roll. So at the beginning of this 4th season, they said, we're changing the format. And I was like, and then instead of doing long form, we're going to do short form stories. And so most of the episodes will be 1 story per episode. Some of them went to 2.
They did a bunch of 2-parters, but
they went to 2-parters, but for the most part, it wasn't going to be the same thing. It wasn't going to be that deep dive. And I went, I don't want this. And I was really disappointed. And then as they started going, every episode was better or as good as the one that came before it. And it became this highlight of my week when a new episode of this has come out. And I don't listen to a lot of podcasts anymore. I mostly listen to books, long form. And like a couple few months into this, I was like, okay, I wrong. This format works really well.
It's really good.
And it has to do with just the quality of reporting and how interesting the different stories. These are all crime stories.
But also, there's something to the Southern Gothic crime that doesn't feel like any other kind of crime. And the characters they talk to, and these incredibly over the top Southern people, I don't know, it's not knocking them, but they just they're the stereotypes and the non-stereotypes and the interesting. And there's been I think the Buford Pusser was 3 parts, and then they had the 4th part update.
No, it was the 3rd part was the update. The 4th part was.
I was so excited when I got that push notification. I was part 3 update.
Yeah, I actually held on to it. I was like, I don't want to waste it. The 3rd one was and a lot of these, even though they were kind of big deals regionally where they are, I've certainly never heard of most of them.
Other than the Buford Pusser one, I heard.
By the end of this last season, it was like my favorite thing that was going on. I was really, the episodes aren't that long. I would say 45 minutes. I don't think they ever even get to an hour. So 30 to 45 minutes, they tell a great story. It's great reporting. I do not understand. I thought they would just do like a month. They did a lot of shows. That 4th season I was like, I can't believe they're still going, and it's coming back pretty soon for the 5th season. I just love this. Is my favorite podcast in forever. And I think, Connor, you were with me too. It was just
I love it. Yeah, great reporting.
So a iFanboy favorite podcast is back. Mike and Tom Eat Snacks. Are you guys aware of the fact that they're back? Have you been listening?
No.
I haven't listened in a while. It's been many years since I've
So since Mike and Tom Eat Snacks came out, 15 years ago, featuring Michael Ian Black and Tom Cavanaugh eating.
Should they still be eating snacks at their age?
Reviewing snacks.
Tom Cavanaugh's in great shape.
They've had moments of doing the podcast, not doing the podcast, doing the podcast, not doing the podcast. They appear to be back and releasing episodes on a weekly basis. They've teamed up with Realm, which is a podcast network now that is producing it. I just love the idea. Is one of their agents, when they're not doing the podcast, actively out there trying to sell it again? Is this something
it must be.
I can't imagine anybody came to them we want more of the snack podcast. This has to be something that they want to do, which that makes it that much fun. It is as funny as it's ever been. It is the chemistry and the relationship that Kavanaugh and Michael Ian Black have, going back to their time on what was the show called? Ed. on Ed is apparent. The way they improv and just riff off each other and go in different directions. They like these episodes I was just listening today. They reviewed Nutella and Go, those little like, the breadsticks with Nutella, kind of like those things. And it was hysterical. It's fantastic.
Well, it's one of the best improv podcasts I've ever heard. It totally influenced our show. We ripped off some of their jokes. We weren't shy about saying so.
Ratings.
It's just that it got inconsistent, and then life
inconsistently released. It didn't get bad.
Yeah. No, I'm saying the release schedule.
No, I know. I just
because
I know what you
they
meant.
were whoever they were.
I'm telling the viewers.
I get you.
They may or may not.
They may not be viewers. It's still up for debate.
Stormtroopers.
But yeah, so they are back on the consistent wagon, and it has been as good as ever. And I do have to laugh because I guess Realm has their own kind of like pseudo Patreon where you can support the show, and they have Mates Club. And where you can pay $10 a month and get ad-free versions of the podcast, or you can pay $20 a month and get video content only for Mates Club. But they actually are charging $1,000 a year level, where they are sending you a box of snacks and a personal thank you from Mike and Tom. Right? So
you thought about it, didn't you?
I did think about it because I was like, well, $1,000 a month is really only like divide that by 12, and that's not that like. So.
And you told your wife, but she went.
Yeah, but it is as good as always. So bravo, Mike.
Well, that's good to hear. Maybe I'll go back because I did. When it was coming out regularly in the beginning, oh man, that was the best hour or so of my day. But
it does feel that way. It definitely does. It feels very close to those days.
So going back to the Lorne book, when I was in that manic state of soaking up anything related to SNL, I started listening to Fly on the Wall with Dana Carvey and David Spade. I knew it existed. I never really listened to it, but I was hungry for anything I could get. And they've talked to everyone. They had Lorne on for like a 2 or 3 part interview. And so, Dana and David, first of all, unlikely pairing, but they represent 2 different eras of the show. And so they have people from
overlapping, but yes.
Yeah, but 2 different eras, really. They're so they've had everybody, including modern people on. I tried listening to the Please Don't Destroy episode, but it was 5 people on the show. It was way too many people.
Yeah.
But like I listened to Dennis Miller, Dan Aykroyd, Kevin Nealon, like literally everyone who's still around. I went through and listened to all the big SNL people. Like I just picked and choose the episodes and the Lorne episode. I don't listen to it anymore, but during this period of time in this year when I was reading Lorne and I was listening all the time. Like I would just put it on while I was working, and I would just keep going, and it was great. They told the post 50th anniversary episode was great because Dana missed it because he had the flu, but David was in it. He was there, and he was in a sketch, and so he told really great behind the scenes stories. And it was during that manic period, it was a great companion piece to the book because I was just in the mode where I needed to hear and learn about SNL as much as humanly possible.
Cool.
So if you like it, there's great interviews in there, and they're really interesting guys. And they're David Spade has an air about him, but he's actually really seems to be a nice guy and curious about other people. So they're good interviewers. So cool. That was my podcasting for the year. Josh?
Yeah, am I supposed to do this next bit?
You're going to tell the people how to support the show.
Well, you caught my last podcast.
Did I? Oh,
yeah.
Shit. Sorry. Hold on. Back to Ron.
All right, cool. I got more time.
Josh, so last podcast.
So much yellow.
One of my other hobbies and projects and stuff like that and obsessions is pinball. There are a lot of pinball podcasts out there, and a lot of them are very much the same, and I actually don't enjoy listening to them. But
what do they talk about? That's the same. They just talk about.
Well, we talk about the new releases. They talk about the whatever competition, tournaments that are going on, whatever drama.
I don't like a lot of comics podcasts.
Yeah, exactly. So. But there is a independent magazine called Nudge. Very much in the spirit of DIY publishing and zines and things like that, but it's a full color photo magazine and all that sort of stuff. They've been out for a couple of years. I think they've got like 5 issues of the magazine out so far the last couple of years. Editor-in-chief Ian Jacoby's doing a really great job of documenting the pinball scene in that magazine. They finally spun off a podcast this year called Nudgecast, the official podcast of Nudge Magazine. And editor-in-chief of the magazine, Ian, is joined by this guy, Shane Told, who's actually the singer of the band Silverstein, kind of a third wave emo band and that sort of thing, but he's also into pinball. And they do a good job. And yes, they're doing this, the format of like, talk about what's going on in the industry, and then let's have someone interesting on and interview them. But they have a unique POV that actually aligns more with my kind of sensibility than other people who are podcasting in the world.
So when are you going on it?
Maybe some point. When they ask me, I'm not going to ask to be on it. If they ask me to be on it, I'll do it. But doing a great job. I've enjoyed listening to the show. It's you know, in its first year or so of existence, and so kudos to them for doing it. Although it's been a couple of months since the latest episode. Now I wonder what's going on, but hopefully they're not going away.
What was the big pinball thing that just the convention you went to?
Pinball Expo in October.
That was because I listened to a bit of this show just to get information on it, and they were talking about going to Pinball Expo.
Yeah, and they have not podcast since Pinball Expo, so I don't know what's been going on.
Did they die at Pinball Expo?
No. I hung out with Ian at Pinball Expo. It was they were there. They had a good time. But
why not like BumperCon or?
But anyway, it's they do a good job of adequately existing in the fandom of the space. So good job, guys.
Do you ever have the urge to make a pinball show?
No.
I
mean,
it's too much.
I mean, not that it's too much, but it's got to be like, what is the angle? What is the uniqueness of it? Like that sort of thing. So.
Well, you take the thing you love and you keep turning in your job. You don't want to take the thing you love into two
You already did it,
right? Yeah, like at some point. Yeah, at some point it's gonna stop.
Scorbit Pod.
You don't have. You don't want two jobs of the thing you love. One, fine, but all right. So here's the deal. iFanboy, this thing that you are listening to or watching, we can't be sure. Maybe you're a viewer. Maybe you're not. Is a listener supported? It's a viewer and listener. I can't do it. In supported endeavor. You can directly support the show. I'd say our preferred way, but there's options for you. Is patreon.com/iFanboy, where you directly support the show. There is a fantastic community that you can be part of. There's on Discord and on Facebook. I believe there's still a Facebook group. I don't know. I can't speak to that. You can vote on a patron pick. You can get a patron power live on the show, and you can join the monthly patron hangout at $10 or higher. These are the good ones, by the way. I recommend these. I recommend them. You will get an ad-free version of all of our shows. And this is good. At $10 or higher, there's the iFanboy After Show. Now, what Connor and I do, and you know this, but I'm going to tell you just because this is a different show. We talk about the books that came out in a week that we want to talk about, but there's always books that are left over that we don't talk about. So that's what the after show is. We talk about the rest of those. And the thing is, it was going to be a quick hit thing, but it turns out that we still talk about all the books. So it's a real
30 minutes now.
I'm not happy about it, but also I can't not talk about things. It turns out.
You missed one perk. You get the pick of the week show on Saturday.
Early.
Pick of the week. All the other jerks get it Sunday. You get it Saturday.
Yeah, you're the jerk who gets it on Saturday, early as possible. It's early too. Like you get a good day with it, provided everything goes well.
Just to really luxuriate in it for a day. You take it to the bath, maybe a glass of rosé.
I don't recommend. I mean, the data. There is a discount if you sign up for. I'm very tired. If you sign up for 1 full year, and you can now send or receive gift memberships. That's patreon.com/iFanboy. Over at iFanboy.threadless.com. That is our merch store. There are 23 designs that we have that are Threadless, you're going to say primarily t-shirts, but there's also long sleeve shirts and baseball shirts and tank tops and probably hoodies and sweatshirts and then just an enormous amount of other things. You can put these, what I say are frankly 23. There's about 19
world-class
fantastic.
World-class
19 of them are amazing. 4 of them are pretty good. I'm going to go
accurate.
with that.
That's accurate. Yeah.
I think that's about right. iFanboy.com/support has a direct PayPal link. This is the easiest and simplest thing you do. Think of it like a tip jar if you don't want to deal with any of that stuff. But
again,
it's probably a good time to say it.
We can't say this enough. If you are an eccentric billionaire and you need to offload cash, this is an easy place to do it. Like we always tell you, we're going to handle all the taxes. We're going to handle all the legal problems. We're going to handle all of it.
We keep saying eccentric, and I think that is limiting our potential audience.
If you're just a regular old billionaire.
Maybe it's a rational decision we will take any amount of money, 7 figures and up. We're gonna make that
it divisible by 3. That's the easiest way to do it. That way there's less conflict later on. But
I'm willing to
throw in some change. That's fine. Yeah. Like throw it like 52 cents. That's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. That's fine. Anyway, that's iFanboy.com/support. Hasn't happened yet, but fingers crossed. There's iFanboy.com/Amazon, which is a general shopping link. Affiliate program, costs you nothing, helps us out. It is shopping season, as it were. You're going to be buying stuff and sending things around. There's sales.
There's still time. If you're listening
there's
to this
definitely still time
as it comes out. You still got 4 days till Christmas. So,
but if you're going to get something from Amazon and you like the show, going through that helps us out. Super easy for you. Thank you very much to those who do. Then there's finally there's bookshop.org. It is an aggregator of local bookstores, and where possible on our website, when we have to link to a book, if it is on bookshop.org, we will put that link there, and then your order will be fulfilled by a lovely local bookstore in the U.S. I believe. I don't believe it goes out of there. And that's it. It remains to be said. It's the end of our year. It's the end of our 20th year. This would be our 21st one of these. Thank you to everybody who has supported the show in any of those ways. And I say it a lot. We say it a lot because we mean it, but I don't want that to make it seem like it's less sincere, because every time we say it, we are eternally grateful and thankful for the people who like listening to this and then are, putting up actual money to sort of continue listening to it. And it's not required. It doesn't hold anything to those of you who don't do that for whatever reason. But if you do, thank you.
So now it's time for comics, our final segment. We've rounded the final corner. We're heading towards the home stretch where, so Josh and I talk about comics all throughout the year. And what we're going to do now is speed round through 10 of our favorites. These are obviously, we read way more than 10, but these are some of our favorites. There are other favorites, but they're not on the show, just these 10. So I'm going to kick us off with my book of the year, Batman and Robin Year One by Mark Waid, Chris Samnee, and team. And this was the 12-issue miniseries looking at the first year pairing Batman and Robin together, featuring exceptional art from Chris Samnee, the master storyteller, and really fun Batman from Mark Waid that had elements of the 66 series, had elements of modern day Batman, had elements of, it was very timeless, very classic, featured twists and turns we didn't see coming, and it had a very satisfying ending. Sad to see it go, happy it came around. There's a hardcover that's out. Give it to your friends, give it to your family, make them all happy with Batman and Robin Year
One. Wonder Woman from Tom King, Daniel Sampere, Tomo Murray, and all over. This is an ongoing book. I don't know what we're up to now, but it comes out very regularly. It's a monthly book. And it occurred to me recently that Tom King actually doesn't do a lot of ongoing books. He does miniseries or maxi series, whichever it was. And then also Wonder Woman has had a very hard time finding a consistent quality creative team to sort of figure out who she is and how it works. And it comes out every month, and I enjoy it and I read it. But like sort of recently it's occurred to me, I'm like, this is actually starting to become, I think, an important. I thought it was going to be like an aberrant Wonder Woman run, and I think in that time it feels like it's become an important Wonder Woman run. It's definitely defined the character in a way that I think is not necessarily new, but is genuine, and it works really well with my idea of what this character should be like. And it's just like shockingly good art from Daniel Sampere, who is getting better all the time. She had a baby, which again, that's normally a death knell, but the way that it works and the way that it all played out has been really compelling. The King of America storyline is over, although I think it's still related, and we're in this weird mouse story now, which should be really stupid, but I think it's actually fucking brilliant.
No, it's really good.
Yeah,
it's a really good book.
It's a great book.
Yeah, it's a good time to be a Wonder Woman fan, because Absolute Wonder Woman. So the Absolute books have lit the sales world on fire. Apparently, we don't know, but that's what the word is. And the best of the bunch is Absolute Wonder Woman from Kelly Thompson, Hayden Sherman, Matea de Ilus, and Jordi Belair, and others. It's a very different look at Wonder Woman, very different take on a Wonder Woman who's raised in hell as opposed to Themyscira, but she is very recognizably Diana. And Kelly Thompson writes a wonderful Wonder Woman. There's a very fun group of characters around her, but man, the Hayden Sherman art coming at you with John Williams. I'm punchy. J.H. Williams III-esque layouts. Wonderful to look at. The book really sings when Hayden's drawing it, and it's still, when it comes out, I'm very excited for, which I can't say about every Absolute book anymore. This is definitely the best one.
Assorted Crisis Events, and this was sort of a last second but then obvious choice for me to make here. This is from Image Comics. It is a, as far as I can tell, anthology series.
It's ongoing anthology.
Yeah, ongoing anthology. I was trying to think, I was like, if they're connected in some way, but it is in the fact that so this is Dennis Camp with Eric Zawadzki, colors by Jordi Belair, up and coming letter superstar Hassan Asman Al-How. The premise here is that in the world that these stories take place, there has been a time and space displacement. Time doesn't make sense or work the same way. Some people are affected by it differently. It's very random. And I want to say there are not only 6 issues in, something like that.
I think seven. By the time the show comes out, 7 will be out.
Yeah. And they've all been done by the same team, but they've all been very different. They've been wildly different kinds of stories. I thought the first issue was probably the weakest out of all.
We didn't really like it that much.
And then issues 4 and then 5 were some of the best comics that I can remember reading in recent memory. And this is, and to be fully honest, like, I have not liked the books that Dennis Camp has done. The Ultimate books that he's done at all. And so, like, seeing somebody over here who has a completely different sort of requirement that they have to go for in doing these books, just these one issue temporal disturbance time stories that become very, very, very personal, and some of them definitely have they're metaphors for things that happen in real life. It's hard for me to even describe it, to tell you what it is, other than those things, and like, you kind of have to read it to believe it. There's some incredible page layouts that are happening in here that are not just impressive, but actually go with the story that's being told. Again, issue 4 and 5. 4 is about an immigrant family, and they have to work in meat cutting plants. It is amazing comic booking.
Okay, this is the fast segment.
Yeah, I'm done.
Daredevil, Cold Day in Hell from Charles Soule, Stephen McNiven, Dean White. This was a 3-issue miniseries. All 3 issues were pick of the week this year. Came out of nowhere. It was so good. It was, Old Man Daredevil, essentially, or Dark Knight Returns for Daredevil. It was his, the story of Old Man Matt Murdock at the end of his career. Wildly inventive, very not like Charles Soule at all. Had elements of Garth Ennis and Frank Miller, and it was, and Steve McNiven doing a very spare, interesting art style.
You have no idea it was him, other than it was brilliant.
But also very sort of Frank Miller-esque in some of the stuff, especially the Elektra stuff. Just wonderful. This came out of nowhere and knocked our socks off, and it's definitely one of
every issue.
Yep.
It took me a really long time to understand what was great about Usagi Yojimbo. Stan Sakai's 40 years in now, and it still comes out like regular, like clockwork. In fact, at a certain point last year, he had 2 series coming out with regular Usagi stories and then Space Usagi. And I used to always say, "Hey, there's
Space a reprint though."
I think it was. I don't. That's the thing about it, is I never know what the reprint is.
I think it's a reprint.
They're all kind of readable. And I just love it. I think I would say right now it's my favorite series. It's the one that I'm most happy when it comes out. I don't really ever talk about it on the show that much because there's not necessarily much to talk about. But it actually does have a continuity. I'm going through it, but you also don't need to know it at all. It's just something wonderful about it that I have a hard time even explaining, as have other pros who do the forwards of those books.
The 10,000 Plum story was really good.
The 10,000 Plum story was really very good.
Yeah.
But most of them are.
Yeah.
It's my finding.
Fantastic Four from Ryan North, Humberto Ramos, Victor Elizabeth, Delgado, Joe Caramagna. The joke on the show is, yay, it's another good Ryan North Fantastic Four book. But the problem is they're all really fucking good. And the reboot of the series to coincide with the movie, notwithstanding, that continues to be terrific. Ryan North is incredibly scarily smart and works perfectly for this family of scarily smart people who solve problems and save the day.
And it's one thing to be smart, but to be entertaining, be able to tell a story at the same time, over and over again.
His previous volume was not all, but 1 or 2 issue stories, very short stories, very unlike the modern comics ethos. This volume's a little bit longer stories, but all the things you love about Ryan North's Fantastic Four are there. The science concepts, the out there ideas that freak you out and you realize they're real, and the relativity and time travel, and
plus Humberto Ramos. So
and I love Humberto Ramos, and he works great for this. Slightly cartoony, slightly exaggerated, draws great monsters, great tech, and this is just, Fantastic Four continues to be one of the best Marvel books, as it has been for years now, going back through Dan Slott and previous runs.
I'm trying to fill out my list of what to talk about for comics, and I'm going back through like the rundowns from the whole year, and I got to Uncanny Valley, and I was like, all right, yeah, this book.
This is a Boom Studios book, by the way, not Image Comics, as it says on the screen.
Yeah, Boom. From Tony Fleece and Dave or Fleek. Someone told when you tell me how to say something, I will forget. So don't
might
bother.
be Fleece. I don't remember.
See, now we don't. Right.
Now you blew it for me too.
Right.
Yeah.
See, and Dave Wachter. This is so stupid. A boy finds out that he's the half cartoon grandson of Yosemite Sam. They're not saying it, but look at him on the cover. That's him. This should not work, and it worked so well. It was done like it was so good, and every issue, was inventive and sort of mixing this idea of the cartoons from our childhood and a little before. What was essentially a fairy tale. And I'm sure it's a fairly unheralded book, but I know that Connor and I found a reason to talk about it almost every single issue.
Unlike anything else out there.
Yeah. And just successful and just well done.
Solid cartoon jokes, if you're our age.
Solid cartoon jokes. Yeah, great stuff.
Red Coat, my final pick. This was a surprise to me, but I really shouldn't have been, because the book that shouldn't work, from Jeff Johns, Brian Hitch, Andrew Curry, Brad Anderson, and Rob Lee from Image Comics and Ghost Machine. When it was first announced, the story about an immortal soldier from the Revolutionary War from the British side, it sounded right up Josh's alley, but also kind of silly, but has managed to tell really interesting and fun alternate history stories with the Albert Einstein sidekick character, and Adventures of the Johnny Appleseed, and an evil George Washington who was also a wizard, and also the same for Benedict Arnold. Like, it's like all the words coming out of my mouth sound stupid, but it's a really good book, and it's some of the best Brian Hitch art.
I was going to say, if you ever thought maybe it was Brian Hitch, maybe past his prime, not from one single issue of this that I've seen, it is as good as anything he's ever drawn, if not better in some ways.
It's when I finished this list and I put Red Coat out, I was like, yeah, it should be on the list, because it's a book that I really love, and it's been surprising, and it's been pick of the week, and it's just wonderful.
This is, I think Supergirl is going to be my sort of wild card entry. As I was thinking about it, I think they're up to 7 or so this year. I made the last one the pick of the week. Sophie Campbell writes and draws it for the most part. There's a fill-in at some point probably to catch up. She still wrote it. And it's kind of a YA book about Kara, Supergirl. So far, she's gone back to her hometown and has like a little team of people around her. And this book isn't made for me. It is, it's sort of an all ages thing. I think it's, ostensibly aimed at girls who don't have a lot of comics written for them, but it is the perfect mix of fun and adventurous and funny and, like drama. Sophie Campbell is an unremarked upon cartoonist who is incredibly skilled. It's just a fun book. It's like, you probably like, oh, they're having fun doing this book, and it's good, and it all shows through when you read it. And it just goes back to, like, it doesn't really matter what the comic is. Good comics are good comics, and it's gonna work for you if it's that good. And I think it's worth your time.
There it is. There is the movies.
That was it.
TV shows and music and books and podcasts and comics of 2025 that we enjoyed. Thanks for hanging in there with us. This is always fun.
Connor said this one will be shorter, and I was like, you doomed us.
That's for sure.
We had way less than normal. This is what happens. We
talk more than
Happy Days. So yeah, let's plug some things and then get out of here. I've got food waiting downstairs. So this is our last show of the year. We'll be back in January. But if you need shows to listen to over the holidays, if you got to annoy your family who are annoying you, here are some shows. Our last Media Explode was our year in Mailbag, which was a lot of fun. 3 of us answered emails from the mailbag. The last Talksplode was interview with Chris Eliopoulos, friend of the show, longtime friend of iFanboy. Very popular interview. A lot of people talking about it.
Really
a lot
good.
of people loving it. Our last special edition was more emails. We went back to the pick of the week 1,000 emails that we didn't get to answer during the show itself, and answered about 30 more of those, and that was a really fun show. And then the last Booksplode, which came out not too long ago, just a couple days ago, was our review of The Private Eye from 2015 that Josh and Ryan Haupt and I did. And so all those shows, you can play them during your holiday parties, during your get-togethers, during your wrapping presents, New Year's parties, these are all perfect for them. And then we'll be back in January 11th, Sunday, for Pick Week 1008. That's when we'll be back after the holiday break. But thanks for watching and listening throughout the year, and thanks for even check those out. Ron?
Yeah, and if you need even more things to listen to, if you're into technology and mobile technology specifically, head over to androidfaithful.com, where every week me and my other co-hosts are talking about specifically Android phones, but we talk about iOS also and things in the news and the world of mobile technology, smartphones, tablets, all that fun stuff. It was a crazy year for Android, and it's all documented over at androidfaithful.com. And as mentioned earlier, if you're curious about or into pinball, check out Scorebit, which is an app that me and some of my friends of mine have put together. We recently launched back at Pinball Expo, I mentioned earlier, in October. We launched Scorebit V2. We got a brand new logo, brand new version of the app. We got a whole bunch of new cool functionality that's coming out in 2026. So if you are into pinball, if you're into retro gaming, into arcades, you're definitely going to want to check out Scorebit. And if you got any questions, hit me up on Discord if you're a patron, or email me, and I'm happy to answer your questions. Hit me up on social media, where you probably could find me over on Threads at threads.com/RonXO. Talking about nonsense, having a good time. That's where it's at. Come hang out on Threads with me. So
that's coming up right now. Let's go on home. You can find our library of shows. We got about 1,500 shows over at iFanboy.com on our feed. You can get them wherever podcasts are sold. You can never miss a show by and find out what the pick of the week is before the show comes out by following us at iFanboy Comics on Instagram and Threads, at iFanboy.com on Blue Sky. Individually, we are CS Kilpatrick on Instagram, at RonXO on Instagram and Threads, most importantly, and at J.A. Flanagan on Instagram. And don't miss our former writer Jeff Reed's video deep dives into comic book minutia over across our social channels every Tuesday and Friday, and also on YouTube.
He's a savant in that way. Hey, listen, this whole thing runs on reviews and star ratings. That's how this gets done. And the fact is, we're not allowed to leave them for her own show. And to be honest, I don't know that we could do justice. But you have the power. You're the one out there. So if you have not ever left a review for for our shows or whatever, YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, go do that. If you have,
call it a gift to us.
If you have done that, create an alias and write more. Now, I'm not telling you to make them, good reviews. But I think you know what you should do. I think you know what the right thing is here. So anyway, if you can do all that, please do. And there's so many different ways to do it, but thank you. You can subscribe to youtube.com/iFanboy, where you can watch the video version of this show, as well as special edition shows, the aforementioned Jeff Reed comic book deep dive videos, short form. You can find an archive of all of our old video shows there as well that we did from 2007 to 2012. Those are all there. And that's
it.
Stick a fork in this.
That's the end of 2025. iFanboy 2025 is over.
What a year.
The end of it.
What was your guys' favorite show of the year? Was it the 1,000th episode, or was there another episode?
I mean, that was the most fun.
Yeah. Josh?
I guess I don't know how to differentiate them, honestly. I mean, this
all kind of blur together.
They do. I don't know what to tell you. I really like the patron pick I gave away this week. I don't remember before that.
But it wasn't fun. I mean, this is year we've been working towards for a while, and 20 years of the show, 25 years of iFanboy in the books is crazy, and we have more to come in January.
Awesome.
So it'll be 2026. without the slash. Slash free in 2026. That's our motto. That's our promise to you.
Slash
Wait,
free.
we're not doing that kind of fan fiction? Is that still a thing?
So until 2026, enjoy your holiday. Have fun, no matter what you celebrate or who you celebrate with. Until then, my name is Connor.
I'm Ron.
Josh, here for all your asking for review needs.
I thought I didn't know where you're going to go with that. Something about
I didn't either.
fiction.
You saw it happening.
A weekend to the year.
Yeah.
All right.
I work in an improv sense. I don't know what's going to happen.
I can't
Sometimes
be
it's
held
brilliant.
responsible for what comes out of my mouth.
Can't.